Lots of volume today. Full of volume. Gonna turn it down a little bit. All right, we're online. Welcome to the Thomas Hunt Show. Today is Thursday, April 2nd, 2020. Start off with a poem by Charles Bukowski. A little atomic bomb. Oh, just give me a little atomic bomb. Not too much, just a little. Enough to kill a horse in the street, but there aren't any horses in the street. Well, enough to knock the flowers from a bowl, but I don't see any flowers in a bowl. Enough then to frighten my love, but I don't have any love. Well, give me an atomic bomb then, to scrub in my dirty bathtub, like a dirty and lovable child. I've got a bathtub. Just a little atomic bomb, General, with pug nose, pink ears, smelling like underclothes in July. Do you think I'm crazy? I think you're crazy too. So the way you think, send me one before somebody else does. Let's see, random. Oh, too much. Ooh, way too much. Oh, D.H. Lawrence. Do you guys know D.H. Lawrence? I don't know about Bukowski sometimes, right? Obviously, the atomic bomb one was right on. Ooh, here we go. Maybe this one, for everybody that's locked inside, which is everybody, right? Everybody's staying inside now. 40 cigarettes. I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes today, and my tongue feels like a caterpillar trying to get out for rainwater. Somebody is working over pictures at an exhibition, while tiny pimples of sweat work their way down my fat sides. Too sick today and told the man over the phone. It was stomach pains, the pains in the ass too, and the soul? The Gophers are underground, staring at pictures on mud walls. Machine guns are mounted in the windows. 40 cigarettes. What's walking around, chewing grass? 4 legs, no hands. It's not the Politburo. It could be a donkey. How'd you like to be in a donkey's head for a while? Your body in a donkey's body. You'd only last 10 minutes. They'd have to let you out. You'd be so scared. But who's going to let you out of that dismal blueprint notion of what you are now? And I'm the one that's scared. It's pretty strong. Oh, well, let's see. One more. This. I'm going to restart. That wasn't a good start. No one liked that. You have to be more patient with a poem, I think. You have to give it a chance. Here we go. The souls of dead animals. After the slaughterhouse, there was a bar around the corner, and I sat in there and watched the sun go down through the window. A window that overlooked a lot full of tall, dry weeds. I never showered with the boys at the plant after work, so I smelled of sweat and blood. The smell of sweat lessens after a while, but the blood smell begins to fulminate and gain power. I smoked cigarettes and drank beer until I felt good enough to board the bus, with the souls of all those dead animals riding on me. Heads would turn slightly. Women would rise and move away from me. When I got off the bus, I only had a block to walk, and 1 stairway up to my room, where I'd turn on my radio and light a cigarette, and nobody minded me at all. There you go. Charles Bukowski from the book Play the Piano Drunk Like a Percussion Instrument Until the Fingers Begin to Bleed a Bit. There you go. That's a good one. We got way too much news. We started early. We'll see what's going on. Let's get everything going. Let's go to the graphics. Today is Thursday, April 2nd, 2020. My name is Thomas Hunt. This is the Thomas Hunt Show. The price of Bitcoin is up 8.16% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 6,770 and a high of 6,850, a low of 6,180. Checking out the brand new Bitcoinal chart. Pretty cool now. Looks like the price of Bitcoin is up. That's $1 for 14,800 Satoshis. It's almost like they're collector's item. Gotta collect them all. Stocks extend rally after Trump tells CNBC Saudis and Russia will ease oil pressure. The Dow is up 500 points. Just moments ago on CNBC, we saw the Dow Jones Industrial Average take off like a rocket with the announcement of a Saudi-Russia deal to cut oil output, which the Fed says would obviously help. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 1.34%, with a last of 21,224, above a previous close of 20,943. Remember the dramatic page one of the New York Times last week with the enormous spike showing 3.3 million unemployment claims? Said with the graphics off. There's the Bitcoinal chart, so that makes more sense now. Oh well. Here's the Bitcoin Satoshis. Here's the stocks extend rally after Trump tells CNBC Saudis will ease oil pressure. And now we're back. Remember the New York Times graphic? To save the Times team the trouble, this is what the same page would look like with today's 6.6 million unemployment claims. Here's the new New York Times potential headline. The previous 3.3 and now 6.6. So we have an incredible amount of unemployment announced just yesterday, but that seems to have been at least wiped off the board for right now, with the word that Saudis and Russia will allegedly ease oil pressure. So this could be good. Checking out coronavirus cases worldwide, previously around 886,000 infected, 44,000 about dead. Refresh the new numbers, 966,362 infected worldwide, 49,279 deaths. Just tapping on the door of 1 million infected and 50,000 dead. Stay home. Staying home's the best thing you can do right now. You had the chance, you went out, it was great, we had good times out in the world. But right now, we're going to do our best, we're going to stay home. That's it. Been inside for about a month now, getting used to it. At least I haven't seen any other people. That's a good thing, yeah. Wear a mask. Do you have to go outside? Do you have to get groceries? Is it a must? Let's wear a mask. Even though they haven't officially said you should wear a mask yet, any fool knows that wearing a mask will have less microbes going into your mouth and less microbes going out of your mouth. It's almost like a little shield for your mouth and nose that would keep stuff out of them. If you didn't wear a mask, you'd be raw breathing. Who wants to be raw breathing in a crowd? That's no good. As CoinHawk says, Asian countries have been rocking masks since 2003. They help indeed. Maybe they'll catch up soon. Maybe. Why do they wear masks? Why do they have less coronavirus? Maybe it's the masks. The U.S. Surgeon General is asking the Center for Disease Control to see if face masks are effective. Once again, why are they taking all this time? Why are they waiting? It's okay if they made a bad decision. Maybe they even made a bad decision to try to protect the supply of masks for hospital workers. They made a bad decision for a good reason. Well, let's reverse that bad decision, and let's have every person in America start wearing, at the very least, an improvised mask. Wear a t-shirt. Make your own mask. wear a surgical mask. You can't have an N95 mask. That's fine. Just something is better than nothing. It's ridiculous to think otherwise. It's been an amazing couple of months, this whole mask thing. We'll see how this turns around. Here's a picture of the 1918 pandemic in the United States. That's right. What are the police officers wearing? They're wearing masks. They're keeping themselves safe. And if they had the virus, they have less chance of spreading it to other people. So check it out. Like this show. It's going to be a really long one. We have way too much news. Too much has been happening, and I've got lots of video to play for you today. So it's going to be a banner episode. Also, I promised we'd do phone calls. Dan's going to be here. He's talking about it in the chat. But it's hard to talk and chat and like and do the graphics and the sound, and hopefully everything works. Because here we go. Let's keep going. Shaking hands in 2020. We got Hulk Hogan on the right. I think it's Ultimate Warrior on the left. And they just can't shake hands, brother. I tell you, the Ultimate Warrior and I, such opponents, such enemies, we cannot meet together. And this is what shaking hands is like in the 2020s. No one wants to shake your hand anymore. Reminder of yesterday was April Fool's Day. We talked about the most classic April Fool's joke on the internet, the 1999 user-friendly comic strip bought by Microsoft, a classic Linux Microsoft hating comic strip bought by at the time, the evil empire of Microsoft. A reminder of George Plimpton's classic 1985 article on Sid Finch, Sports Illustrated's greatest April Fool's Day joke in sports. For those who haven't read it, as you can see from even just the picture here, this Mets phenom, Sid Finch, throws with one shoe off. He's the greatest pitcher you've ever heard of, Sid Finch. Read the article. Plimpton's got a beautiful voice, great authorship. If we had more time and it was a better time, we could just read it here, but we got to keep moving. Coronavirus cases in the United States, previously around 190,000 infected, around 4,000 dead. Refresh, 217,661 infected in the United States, 5,153 dead. So continuing upward, percentage of the overall cases, if you think about 1 million worldwide, United States has 217. That's about 20% of the world's cases in the United States. If there's been about 50,000 deaths worldwide, we have about 5,000 of them. We have 10%. So seems like way too much. The U.S. government has requested 100,000 body bags. The Pentagon will draw some initially from the national stockpile of 50,000 body bags and is looking to buy more, sources say. Somber preparations as Trump officials project as many as 200,000 Americans may die of coronavirus. So if you didn't want to knit a mask before, if you were too good to wear an improvised mask, maybe you can start working on knitting a body bag. Maybe we could quilt a bunch of American body bags. Everyone could chip in, and we can solve this national body bag shortage. This is the coronavirus. It doesn't care about your politics. Fear the apocalypse? Come hang out Sunday for Prepper-Palooza live stream on the Tatiana Show. They've got Josh Gagala, Ragnar's mate, Free Ross, Kevin McKiernan, Girl Gone Crypto, Sasha Hodler, Skrilla Venture, Diona Bailey, Jordan Page Music, Mad Bitcoins, and much, much more. Check out the Tatiana Show on a Facebook live stream Sunday, April 5th, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. There's going to be interviews, live music, and prepping 101. Although maybe it's a little late for that, but maybe we can prep for next time. But check out the Tatiana Show and Prepper-Palooza. I'll be there. It's going to be fun. So if you see this tweet, give it a retweet and a like. Let's all go hang out on Sunday. Let's have fun on a Facebook live stream, I guess. It's going to be good. One of the first companies to host a token sale, Factom Protocol, has notified creditors that it has entered receivership after an appeal for additional funding fell on deaf ears. And everyone remembers Factom. They were going to put deeds and land rights into the blockchain. At first, they were going to put it into the Bitcoin blockchain, then maybe their own blockchain, and then maybe an Ethereum blockchain, and then maybe a copy of that. And I don't know, they had a lot of different things about how they were going to publish all this land data. And you could buy this incredible Factom token, and it would go up in value, and they talked all about it, and now they're in receivership. It almost seems like a preview of every other token project ever. It seems like you start out, you got a great idea, an idea so good, the only way to support it is to just start printing money. So you start printing money for your idea. And at first it's going really well, and you're telling all these investors, like, my idea is so awesome. Come get some of my printed money. And you're like, it's like Ethereum. It's like Tron. It's like Factom Protocol, my idea, the awesomeness. And you're printing all this money, and then one day, someone won't buy your printed money. And you're like, what do I do? What do I do now? All I have is printed money and dreams. I guess you go into receivership and you sell your assets. So goodbye to Factom Protocol. Better luck next time. Ethereum founder tells Bitcoin developer on Twitter, apparently, Bitcoin wasn't always digital gold. I love it when we let Vitalik tell us who we are and what we are. It's nice. As Vitalik says, quoting the white paper, a picture of the white paper, he says, I joined Bitcoin Land in 2011, and I remember back then there was a clear vibe that Bitcoin was P2P cash first and gold second. It's tough to say how something with a limited number of units, it was locked down pretty early in the Bitcoin time, and seems how it wouldn't be considered gold or valuable. It was in the early days. No one knew if it had value, certainly. There was a lot of miners that mined a lot of Bitcoin and sold a lot of Bitcoin. All they had to do was keep what they probably sold in a month, and it would have been incredible. But no one knew until later that it kept going up and up. But this debate continues. It's just interesting to see once again Vitalik, who defined Bitcoin maximalists as a negative word, that they were not interested in his Ethereum project, which again, I hope they have enough tokens. I hope they can print more or get some more tokens and sell some more tokens, because otherwise, it might happen like this Factom thing. What if it didn't say Factom and it said, Ethereum or Tron or something else, like liquidation? The other thing here about the Factom thing to remember is they didn't plan for long term. I knew a lot of other startups. There were startups that were doing tipping and all kinds of things. All these startups have this plan where they're going to go off like a firecracker, or they're going to go viral, I guess is what we used to say before going viral was not a good thing. You're going to go viral and you spend all your money and you're having all these parties and you're sponsoring all this stuff and you're just burning all this money, and then it's all gone. And you're like, if we had spent the money differently, and we could have kept the servers running for 20 years, right? We could have just bought a server contract. We could have said, well, at the very least, the application that we're working on will run for X number of years. Like if you look at ProTip, protip.is, you can still download it. It's open source. It's good. It still works. But with these other applications, they don't even buy servers for 5 years. It's got to go off like a rocket or explode like a failed rocket. So that's what happened here. That might be what be happening here. We'll see about Vitalik.eth. But it's so funny, once again, that the way that he defends this is just by quoting the picture of the white paper. So it's not really a good argument. I was really hoping for more, especially that they wrote a whole article about it, or a couple of words anyway. Using Bitcoin in Zimbabwe, part 3 of a 6-part documentary podcast series. Ah, cool. It's CoinDesk. Adam Levine, I didn't see that till now. Shout out. It's over on Yahoo Finance. I didn't even notice, but very cool. Oh, and it's it's not even Adam, but it's Anita Posch. I've met her in Germany and Amsterdam and other places. She's apparently in Africa and is podcasting in a 6-part documentary podcast series. So check that out right here on CoinDesk or Yahoo Finance or whatever this is. But it sounds great. I can't wait to hear about Zimbabwe, which we talked about yesterday with Bitcoin lady Alakani, who had started the Bitcoin Center in Africa, where recently they just had 3 cases of coronavirus, where she lives in Botswana. This used to be an article. Where's the article? I hate the future of the web, huh? Oh, well, it's our fault. We spread the ad blockers and they spread these horrible things. Bitcoin payments on dark markets most impacted by coronavirus pandemic. Chain analysis report. That's quite a headline there. Really getting it out in there. Let's see what the report says. March 30th, breakdown of the impact of coronavirus on the consumer end. So people are buying less, right? The correlation between merchant service usage and Bitcoin price decreased by almost 50% since the outbreak of the coronavirus, according to Chain Analysis. So even darknet markets, where they sell drugs and anything that you want, right, are down 50%. And the casinos are closed. It's an unbelievable time. Nobody's making any money at all. As it says here, merchant services are down. Gambling is down. The price is down. And almost unbelievably, darknet markets are down. Think about the children. Bitcoin stuck in bearish trend as the new month begins. Ooh. Here's how much Bitcoin beat the Dow and S&P in the first quarter. Did it beat it? Bitcoin has fallen less than major U.S. equity indices. So it beat it by falling less. Bitcoin price fell 10% in the first 3 months of the year. However, the Dow secured its worst first quarter performance ever, losing 23%. There it is again, of its value in 2020. The S&P fell 20%, the Nasdaq down by more than 14%. Meanwhile, gold rose about 4% in the first quarter. So there it is. Gold wins, even above Bitcoin. This is a great video. I don't think they'll ever be asking this guy back on Fox News. Here he is. This is a doctor, and he's just about to lay it out to her. And wait till you see her response. This is a classic. Let's see, Twitter video. Here we go.
Is that the test, that there are millions of tests available, and yet we don't have that pinprick blood test that you can just sort of get, at your local doctor and know in 15 minutes. But they're working on it.
Yeah, they're working on it. They should have been working on it for months. So the fact is, we knew about this from the WHO when? December 31st, 2019. So last year, we knew about this. We knew coronavirus is coming. We knew it was a respiratory disease. We knew it was person to person. Why is it that it's this week that the FDA finally approved these kind of new Abbott lab testing, which, by the way, is one test at a time? It's a great test, but it's one test at a time. It's different than the labs that are doing mass testing, right? So this is a wonderful test. Don't get me wrong, but it's one test per 15 minutes. That's wonderful, but it's not the same volume that you really need. This is better for kind of outpatient clinics and things like that. We needed this months ago. You look at Korea, South Korea and the U.S. had their first official confirmed case on the same date, January 19th. That means since January 19th, you look at what South Korea did and what we did. Their population is 1/6 of ours. Look at the cases they have. Look at the mortality they have. It's a trifle compared to what we're dealing with right now, because we've had a very weak response and they had a really strong response.
Doctor, thank you. Very interesting to talk to you, Dr. Desai. Hope you'll come back as we move through this difficult period in the country. Dr. Desai, thank you very much, sir. So President Trump warning Americans.
Boom, get that man off TV. Cut his mic. My goodness. Dr. Desai laying it down. Unbelievable on Fox News. That's 1 minute and 35 seconds. I mean, we could almost play that again. I mean, just incredible. It's just maybe just the end, huh? He's just slamming it out. Just, well, it's Twitter video, so probably not. But maybe later in the show we'll
population is 1/6 of ours.
So here we go. South Korea.
We needed this months ago. You look at Korea, South Korea and the U.S. had their first official confirmed case on the same date, January 19th. That means since January 19th, you look at what South Korea did and what we did. Their population is 1/6 of ours. Look at the cases they have. Look at the mortality they have. It's a trifle compared to what we're dealing with right now because we've had a very weak response and they had a really strong response.
Boom.
Doctor, thank you. Very interesting to talk to you, Dr. Desai.
Same date, January 19th. That means since January 19th, you look at what South Korea did and what we did. Their population is 1/6 of ours. Look at the cases they have. Look at the mortality they have. It's a trifle compared to what we're dealing with right now because we've had a very weak response and they had a really strong response.
Doctor, thank you. Very interesting to talk to you, Dr. Desai. You'll come back as we move through this difficult period in the country.
And again, we'll be seeing her emails and text messages soon enough. Hey, video unavailable. What could that mean? It's time for the premiere of my brand new short film, Empty Vegas. I know we're not supposed to go out, but we just got the word here in Nevada. Just last night at midnight, we went on a lockdown. We went on a stay-at-home order. So it was kind of the last time that we could go out legally and take some video for you. So we went ahead and did it. Obviously, didn't get out of the car, didn't breathe on anybody, didn't go anywhere. Wasn't, auditioning to get this thing, knock on wood and all that. But we went ahead and took the risk. The zombies could have got us. Anything could have happened. We went out yesterday and we shot this short film for you called Empty Vegas. Let's go ahead and take a look. This is the world premiere right here. So please give us a thumbs up and a share. And be sure to like this video when it comes out too. Look, I'm going to go ahead and like it right there. Boom, added to liked videos. But here it is, Empty Vegas. Sorry, there's no music. There's no sound. I didn't know what kind of music to put on this. I didn't think there'd be any good music. So I just went with it. But here's just a nice silent film, about 3 minutes, something for you to enjoy. Empty Vegas. Let's give that a try. Might even be fun to talk over a little bit while I'm here. But anyway, it's a silent film anyway. So you just get the, just kind of the emptiness at Treasure Island there. There's Gilly. That was Frank Sinatra's driver and bodyguard and best friend or something. There's the two tiger guys, the old Tiger Kings. There's the Mirage. You see, the main thing you're just looking at here is the empty sidewalks. These sidewalks are normally filled with hundreds of drunk people. There's Vegas Strong, a nice flag, kind of a good cinematic shot. All the images of all the screens are all, we'll welcome you back. We look forward to reopening. And there's the black screen. That's actually a screen on those columns. Usually very glitzy and glamorous. The Forum shops. There's Caesars. Really rolling here. Got a good time with the light. There's the Flamingo on the left, one of the oldest casinos. Hell's Kitchen from the famous TV show. Gordon Ramsay. That's the Bellagio. The famous fountains are turned off. Normally full of tourists everywhere. Las Vegas is empty today. Yesterday, April 1st, 2020. The Planet Hollywood, formerly Aladdin. You can see the empty staircases there. Cosmopolitan, empty. The Aria, even apart, we're in this together. It's interesting to see Vegas stronger after the Vegas Strong, the initial campaign. Our next act will be even better, MGM Park says. And finally, the New York, New York, with the Statue of Liberty. Excalibur. It's also worth noting that all of these hotels are also empty. There's no one sleeping inside any of the rooms. So if you look at any of those windows, those are empty rooms. It's something different about it when you look at it psychically. Like the parking garages are empty, the rooms are empty. It has a different feeling. There's no life inside this. There's the pyramid, the Sphinx, little obelisk action, and look at that sun behind the pyramid. That's nice. Got really lucky there. And Mandalay Bay, not usually a place I go, way out by itself, down here on the Strip, but incredible, gold reflective tiles, just a nice looking building. So let's look at the empty walkway there all the way down. A couple of looky-loos here, ruining my perfect shot. But here it is, Mandalay Bay Casino, completely empty. And there's the new Raiders Stadium. Looks about finished on the outside. The Wynn, the Encore, and you know that guy. So there you go. A little short film, Empty Vegas. You can check that out on the World Crypto Network right here. Send it to anyone you'd like. Just thought it'd be a good idea for history to go down there and record it, take a look at it, cut it together. Did what I could. So be sure to like it and share. Thanks so much. And now, here's some of the news. I know you don't like it, but let's see. We've got good news about Bitcoin. Tur de Meester says, here's an objective measure showing that people are starting to care about the halving again. Halvening. He says there's a potential cup and handle pattern for the interest in the halving on Google Trends. So check that out. It's real simple. Inslee saved tens, if not hundreds of thousands of lives by listening to experts and doing what they said. This fact makes him a standout in American politics, is why we are so beyond fucked. And Washington State, despite being the site of the earliest U.S. cluster, has contained its outbreak better than any state. This simply must be because Inslee started testing earlier, implemented clampdown measures earlier, and tightened them earlier. As Bitcoin Dude says, seriously, wear a mask, bandana, old t-shirt, anything is better than raw breathing. And you'll also note he's masked his profile. A lot of people are starting to put a mask on their profile to show solidarity with the Bitcoin, with the coronavirus mask movement, whatever we are. Bitcoin, mask, corona, anything. Let's wear a mask. We might get back to this later, but it's a epic story of the Mad King Trump angering the gods. Might be fun to read. David Wallace Wells writes, if the U.S. stayed completely shut down for 2 months, the typical U.S. worker would work about the same number of hours this year as a pre-pandemic German worker. And the article headline says it all. The coronavirus shutdown is revealing America's troubling obsession with work. Why do we have to work all the time? We make a lot of stuff. We have a fair amount of money. The Germans get all these vacations. The Europeans get all these vacations, right? I don't know about you, but when I used to go on my summer vacation, taking my, week to 10 days of time, I would meet all these people from Europe who would tell me about this month of time, or maybe even 2 months that they have off, and how it doesn't come out of their sick leave, that vacation and sick leave are different things, and they seem to get a lot of both. Seems like the kind of thing that would make you happy. Speaking of a person who gets lots of sick leave and vacation time, the things that make you happy, it's Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor. How's it going, Dan?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Although the problem is at the moment I'm not getting any sick pay or any of those joys because my boss is an ass. Because at the moment I am my own boss and I'm being an ass to me and I can't afford to pay me. So it's not all gravy. But yeah, if I was a normal self-employed person or one of the very lucky normal employed person or lucky self-employed who are in the Hip Cat crew, then I might be getting some cash. But no.
I keep seeing different kind of things every day that the UK is going to save the gig workers, or maybe the US is going to save the gig workers, or somebody's going to do something for the freelancers. Any of that hit your bank account yet?
Nada. No, I don't think the trickling down. I swear it doesn't trickle down. It's all a big myth.
Seems more of a yellow stream.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we're talking about the coronavirus revealing that the United States works too much. We could take 2 months off and still work the same amount as your average German worker. Doesn't that seems all right? I mean, I know the economy is not going to be as good as if we worked all 12 months, but if we could take 2 months off, that would be pretty good.
Well, I think, do you have, how many days do you get guaranteed holiday a year? Isn't it like generally low, like 10?
Yeah, like 10, I'd think. And
savage.
It's tough because, your sick leave is also your holidays. Like maybe you get like sick leave, as I recall, I think I had it regrew every couple of months. You get like maybe 2 sick days every 3 months, something like that. So if you saved it up, you could have all this sick time and you'd use that together with your other time and you could get this kind of 2 weeks off. But to get the 2 weeks off, you had to basically go to work sick every time. Every time you're sick, you like take a bunch of cold medicine, pretend that you're not sick, lie to everyone. You do that kind of, everyone knows like a cold is like maybe a 3-day cold. But if you're a worker, and I worked a long time and definitely going to work again soon enough. But if you're a worker, like you can go in that first day when you're just a little sick, maybe take a little cold medicine. You can take off that day in the middle, then you can go back in early under the heavy influence of cold medicine, and you can salvage the work week. You can like sneak some, and you can go in on Friday, work like a half day, count it as a whole day. Like everything is about tracking your hours when you're a worker. Like it's not about accomplishments or what your goals are, how you can help the company or anything. And it's just always this hours. So it would be nice to be like these German workers. We got more bad news from Balaji. He says movie theaters were hanging on. Now they're finished off. Movie production is also in remission. So it all goes to laptops, streaming, and I don't know what this is, but he says AI-powered video production. The virus is killing Hollywood and decentralizing movie making. I wish I had his optimism. I don't know that it just slides from, in a normal time, one of the greatest tweets I've seen recently is people talking about how you're not working from home. You're working from home during a pandemic, right? I mean, you're trying to work at home. Like no one can really focus right now. And I'm sure maybe the most creative people I saw, I don't know if we read it here, but there was a tweet yesterday, something about how the most serious poets or the most cynical poets maybe are working on their, coronavirus poetry masterpiece right now. And that maybe people are working on their coronavirus movie masterpiece or their famous script about life on the inside. And, they have Zoom meetings just like me and I can relate to that. And I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some of that, but I don't know that like full scale independent movie making is just going to pop up because, everything else is effed. Dan, what do you think? Any movies you were looking forward to? What do you think about this movie thing? I think you're muted or something. You have not.
Yeah, sorry.
Speech.
You may have heard a few wieners squeaking because they tried to jump up, but then they fell off and dear, silly wieners. But they're gone now. Poor little wieners. I was going to try and I was going to get my wieners out again on air, but they've run away unfortunately. But in terms of movies, I'm quite surprised. We've had 4K now in phone cameras for ages. I'm quite surprised we haven't seen a kind of real gimmicky, like not Blair Witch Project, something with, maybe there's a bit of that hype, but, this was filmed on iPhone 11s, for example, or this movie was filmed with, so I'd be interested if we see something like that soon. I think there's probably a lot of room for home projects. I just got my Ninja little podcast thing, and it actually came pretty quickly. It said April 27th, but it came through, the stand for the mic, but everywhere was sold out. And so I can imagine how many people right now are starting podcasts. They're like, right, I've got nothing to do. I'm going to do a vlog or a podcast or something. And so, it was just everything was sold out. I don't even think it was COVID. It's
definitely all the rage. I know they said in Hong Kong, people were buying Nintendo Switches and computers. I even read this other report that bookstores were actually being heavily hit as parents prepare to homeschool their children. They were like, holy crap, I'm going to need, interactive science kit, and I'm going to need, this kind of instructional book, and maybe a nice story book and a coloring book, and, desperation, right? You're going to be trapped inside with those little people that you produced. they're not going to be handled by someone else anymore. And yeah, the movies aren't coming out either. So definitely a bummer to see things like, I think the new Wonder Woman was delayed. The new Mulan, the big Disney movie, they're making a live action Mulan. Kind of look cool. I mean, graphically, all kinds of stuff running around. Fake horses, of course, though. But yeah, all of that's delayed. Some of them did come out early on streaming. They took the plunge. It's pretty amazing from a movie perspective, releasing a movie that's supposed to be in the theater directly to your screen. Oh my. I think they charged $20 a movie. I don't think I paid. But yeah, there's a couple of those going around. But I don't know about Balaji's plan. Let us know in the chat, in the comments below. What do you think? Are movies finished? Were you looking forward to it? If this stopped in the middle of the Lord of the Rings, would this be the worst thing in the world? Like if we cut off Harry Potter production, are there any series going on right now that have been stopped in their tracks? I mean, I guess they stopped filming My 600-Pound Life. That's a big setback. Future goals, but no. No.
I suppose the rationing would make it a bit more interesting.
It's kind of a forced diet, right? I mean, well, also
weight.
I can't imagine. I mean, I suppose they were making them go outside, which is dangerous right now. And of course now, most places you're on a pretty serious lockdown. They did activate the Nevada National Guard, and everyone was like, Nevada has a National Guard? What? So we're gonna see how that goes. But yeah,
was it made of showgirls and croupiers?
Yeah, is the Nevada National Guard? No, I think they're more serious than that. I know. I cut it out of most of my footage from my film. Dan, you missed it earlier. I premiered my brand new film called Empty Vegas. We went out yesterday and we drove around. It was kind of our last official day to do it. Even then, I know it was a major risk. I've seen all the zombie movies. I've seen all the Purge movies. It all starts, you're like, let's just go out for a nice ride, see how the zombie epidemic's going, and you leave your nice bunker and all your cup of noodles and your top ramens at home and all your protective gear, and you go out for a nice ride, and your car breaks down and you're stuck in the wrong neighborhood and adventures ensue. So yeah, it took a major plot risk, right? But in actual, like, in realistic scientific realities, like, the car is pretty functional. It had a fair amount of gas. There's lots of police everywhere anyway. So we were fine. I mean, we didn't take that much of a risk, but still we made the film, and there were tons of cops down on the strip. Basically what was going to happen was two things. At midnight, they officially closed Nevada. We had a previous order that said all of the non-essential businesses were closed, which pretty much meant you should take it serious and to stay home. But now we have an official stay home order. So unless you're going to the store, the drugstore, and then right back to your home, the police can pretty much, I don't know, hassle you, tell you to go home, maybe give you a fine. It's tough to tell what the rules are so far, but we are locked down. So yeah, and they had all the cops there because at midnight, everyone else wanted to have a parade. They wanted to have a goodbye to Las Vegas parade. And you can see some elements of it starting in my film. The people have flags on their cars. There's a bunch of motorcycle guys driving down there. And there are also like just stacks of cop cars just waiting. They're just like, oh yeah, when this clock strikes midnight, this party's over. And we're going to send, I'm sure they closed the whole road. I'll bet. I'm sure you can't. So in a condition level, in normal times, you can always gamble. This is Nevada, right? You can always gamble and get a drink. In these crazy times for about the last 2 or 3 weeks, you can't gamble, you can't get a drink. And now I am 99% sure they put roadblocks up on the strip because there's no reason for you to be going down there. I mean, it's closed. Like, they gave away all their food, all their water. The hotels are closed. No one's staying there. No one's working there. No one's dealing any cards. So it's pretty amazing that is all stopped.
Do you think there's got to be underground games going on there, right?
Oh,
Like shady with loads of dogs around a table or something.
Dogs playing poker? I'm sure
You know,
there's all kinds of things going on. They said the big problem is, what are the gamblers going to bet on, right? Because there's no sports. You have to bet. Even for a while, I heard they were betting on stocks. So you could say, like, instead of buying Netflix stock, which you might have to go through a broker and all kinds of things, you could just gamble as to whether Netflix stock is going to go up today. You could just bet on it like a horse.
Spread betting, is that what you said? Do you call it that over?
I don't know. I've never really seen
in the US of A. Spread betting, I think we call it
stocks and other things.
Yeah.
So
it's different to trading, say, contracts for difference. So where you still don't own the stock, but with a CFD, I know that you get taxed on it, and with spread betting, I'm pretty sure that. Well, I'm not sure if they've changed it, but you didn't used to get taxed on. You're literally betting rather than a.
Yeah, I mean, I think this would just be, you'd pay the same taxes if you won on a horse or if you won on a football game or whatever. I mean, at a certain level, I suppose you do have to pay taxes on it for sure. You can't. I'd like my $1 million in cash, please. Well, let's get the stores going. We've got some more news.
Bitcoin. You want it in Bitcoin?
Oh, in Bitcoin? Yeah. Well, they wouldn't give it to me in Bitcoin. I have to take the cash first, then buy the Bitcoin, then send it through all these mixers and these coin joins and all these things. And then someday, somewhere, somebody gets a Ferrari. So
or Lambo. Just very quickly, Tom.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you've noticed, but my background here is Cryptoraptor wearing a particular item of clothing. Can you guess what it is and the significance of it?
It looks like you're very safe, like you're wearing a scarf.
I'm wearing a scarf. Apparently, well, I hear they're better than N95 masks, so I'm wearing a scarf. But not only is Cryptoraptor wearing a scarf, but it's actually the scarf guy from the Apple keynote speech. So I've stolen his scarf because that's a big one. It was that or Lenny Kravitz's. He's got some great scarves, and I just thought, no, I just wanted the Apple eye scarf from Apple guy.
I also like that your scarf doesn't even cover your mouth or nose.
Yeah, that's the whole point of it. I edited around that area to get that effect. I'm really glad you noticed. Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
and on that, just very quickly, a great quote I saw this morning, because I was looking at the back and forth of all the, it's really difficult to gauge good evidence and source good evidence. There's so much conflicting stuff from people that seem senior, they seem like they're renowned or whatever in whatever field, but there's still a lot of conflicting information. But I came across a George Carlin quote. Is it George Carlin? And it was
he's the best.
Made me chuckle. It was think how stupid the average person is, and realize half of them are stupider than that. So that's, I think, that came up in a discussion when we were talking about the usage of masks, and actually me wearing a snood when I went out to the thing, and I got to dress like a ninja. So I was like walking around the shop, like trying to look a bit sketchy as well, because opportunity to, and you're allowed. But before I went, we were discussing it, and I thought, well, at the end of the day, even if it's like a net, I'd rather have it in front of my face, because just in case those viruses get stuck on the slight crisscross, it's still better than nothing. I finally come to the conclusion. Lots of research, and I've got a few interesting articles actually that I've been reading up later. I learned how to share my screen as well.
I saw a lot of great images of foot soldiers from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. They have the full ninja suit on, plus they have what seems like little goggles over their eyes. So they're really ready for this COVID-19 virus world.
Well, I didn't have goggles. Damn. Yeah.
Next time. Well, and I agree with you. I feel like if I went out in the full bunny suit, or even if I put on a trash bag just for fun, add on some more levels to this, and I was out in the store, of course, on a mission to get groceries, I might have to have someone else film me or something and walk around like Deadpool and just be like popping and locking and just walking, robot and whatever, goofy thing, because you don't really get to wear a crazy mask and a rebreather and giant goggles and a head suit in public very much. I saw the funniest video. I think it seems kind of like a put-on video, but this lady was in one of those big hamster balls, and it was in the UK, of course, and she was hamster balling her way into the store, and I don't know how it's going to make any sense if she can't hold anything or do anything. She can't buy anything. If she opens the hamster ball, it's all over. And she had this guy with her who was hassling people who touched the ball. He's like, don't touch the ball. Don't touch the ball. No. And she was like, I think it was just for the video. I think it was just a goofball thing, but it looked like a slightly middle-aged to older lady inside the hamster ball. I guess you had to sell it for the realness. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's in my Twitter feed. I don't remember if I retweeted it. I certainly chuckled, but I don't know if I retweeted chuckled. So, but we got to get going down. There's a lot of news today. First of all, we were supposed to take phone calls. So let's be true. Like, let's right away. Graphics off, blah, blah, blah. Phone calls. You can call now at 1-518-600-1949 or on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. Today is Thursday. It's phone call day. That's an important day. Everyone should just check in. What do you do on a phone call? Well, let's see. First, ooh, cool. We're getting a lot of downvotes. Everybody keep upvoting this. We have 37 people watching. 16 people have liked it. I'm not going to tell you how many people have downvoted it, but they're doing a great job. Let's keep the upvotes and the downvotes going because remember, you only hate the ones you love. But if you really hate it, give us a call now at 1-518-600-1949 or on Skype at World Crypto Network. This is before we do the news. We're taking this little 5-minute break here, letting the thing catch up. Everyone's on a delay here. Shout out to the looks like 33 to 36 people watching on YouTube, depending on which screen I look at. We have 1 to 2 people watching on Facebook. So thanks for hanging in there, Facebook fans. Periscope doesn't report back numbers, but if you're in Periscope, you can like the screen and it'll make little hearts. That'd be fun. Also, if you're in Periscope on Twitter, you're probably on your phone anyway. And the way that the phone works is you dial in the phone number and then it rings. Then you say your name and where you're from, like a radio show. And then all you have to do is maybe tell us a little story about your neighborhood. Maybe you live in Florida and you just got shut down and you're excited that your governor's doing something. Maybe you live in Florida and you hate that your governor's doing something and you wish you could go to the beach because, F this stupid fake virus, right? Or maybe you live in D.C. and you just got shut down. Or Kentucky or Bill Gates. Maybe you're Bill Gates and you've been telling people that they should shut down. Anyway, you could call in now. We'll take your call. Dan, I don't know. It doesn't look like anybody's going to call. It is 9:10. We're starting out early. We've got some thumbs up, got a lot of thumbs down. Otherwise, we're going to start doing the news, which is the part that makes you upset. So maybe you're better off.
That's when the thumbs down really start. So
that's what well, they're preemptive.
They're
pre-thumbs downing it, which again shows a level of dedication to hate. It's like, I wish I could level up. Like, I wish I hated things enough to like get up early in the morning, go to some webpage, thumbs them down, be mean about it in the chat. Like, I'm practicing up for that level of hate, but it's okay. Staying home, I think, is going to help you focus your powers. I think you're going to like unleash, like, your ability to both thumbs up and thumbs down are being improved by this, break that we're taking from work. Like, I know some people are still working, they're working at home and stuff, but fortunately you're free from the boss, right? They're not looking over your shoulder, although maybe Zoom is leaking everything. Here we go. We got a phone call. Let's see. We're switching up the audio. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, this is Jennifer Silvis, and I'm in Redmond, Washington, right next to Seattle. And out in Redmond, people seem to be kind of social distancing. I just wanted to say that it looks like we're getting ahead of the numbers, even with our limited self-isolation, that our death rate's gone down from about 5.5% to right around 4%. And something really cool that's going on here, I think it's really cool, is the buses are still running on full schedule, but there's no bus fare, so that people are getting on and off at the back of the bus to reduce the exposure to the drivers.
That sounds great, and we've heard good things about the Washington response. Apparently, Governor Inslee tested a lot of people, got out in front of it, started the shutdown early. How long have you been shut down? Are you locked inside? Are you starting to feel it?
I'm not locked inside. I'm like my phone quit working yesterday, and I had to go to the phone store, so I went ahead and walked the 4 miles there because I didn't want to deal with the buses. And when I do have to take a bus, I wear a mask and gloves. I'm really blessed. I kind of do the Airbnb thing, and I got priced out of Seattle last summer by Amazon interns. So I ended up ironically in the shadow of Microsoft out here in Redmond. And there have been a number of times when I've wanted to move back to Seattle, but like things have come up. Like one time I left my wallet on the bus coming home from martial arts, and I got my wallet back with all the money still in it. So I was like, okay, I'll stay in Redmond another month. and, and then
That's a pretty
time,
good
like,
sign. That's a nice place to live. Yeah.
Right. I've got a beautiful backyard. I've got little wild rabbits that are. I saw one of them gathering up stuff for a nest the other day. I started making friends with the ravens here. I mean, what are you going to do?
Well, it's great that you can be outside in nature. I saw a little bit of Michael Moore's podcast lately, and I know a big lightning rod. I said Michael Moore, but still, just as a human being, he's trapped in a small apartment in New York City, and he had the choice. He could have driven to Michigan. I imagine he must have a house and some grounds there, but no, for whatever reason, he chose to stay in that city. And just how stressful it must be. He's an older gentleman. He's obviously overweight, and he's locked inside.
Right.
And there's hundreds of thousands just like him who aren't lightning rods and aren't politically motivated at all, and they're all trapped in that city and other cities. So if you do have a backyard and a little bit of space, we have a nice little park next to us. There's hardly any people in it, and if there are, we social distance and everything like that. But it is so important to get outside. Even if you have to, I don't know, duck out of your balcony or hang out of your window or something, just get a little sunshine, right?
I absolutely agree. I feel really strong about this. I've got an iron constitution, and I almost never catch what other people have. So I haven't been worried for me. I wear a mask and gloves for everyone else. And, I'm kind of bad at assessing risk for stuff like this. And my first impulse when something really, really, really dramatic happens is this can't possibly be real. Like I was in a shooting. There was a bunch of shootings downtown back in January, and I was like standing right by this one woman who got shot out of her wheelchair. I'm not laughing because it's funny. This is another reason why I stayed in Redmond. I was like, screw this, I'm not moving back to Seattle. But like the first thing that hits my mind when the gunshots went off was like, it can't be real. And oh shit, someone's shooting. I have to run. It was just, so I don't know.
We are kind of like all trained towards false alarms. I know we used to have these fire alarms. I used to work in a tall building. So, I was up on the 14th floor or whatever. And it was a big deal if we're going to have a fire alarm. It was scary. And we'd have these alarms. And the first one, I was like, let's get out of here. Let's do it. We're out of here. But we get to the bottom. We're all outside. All the lawyers are nonchalant. They're taking the elevator. They don't care. And of course, we find out what was the problem. Microwave popcorn. Somebody burnt their microwave popcorn on one of the floors. So we had to evacuate, a 40-floor office building. Everybody had to stop their work. Most of the lawyers I worked with were very hard workers. So they grabbed their laptops, went to the coffee shop, kept working. No problem there.
Right.
But yeah, for everybody else, it's just a huge mental thing. And then you have 10 or 15 more of these false popcorn alarms. And the same thing with the shootings and things. You hear a bunch of cars backfiring, some fireworks, these kind of things. And you just assume, it can't be real. It can't be real. And then every once in a while, oops, it's real. So yeah, it can definitely sneak up on you.
Yeah. So I think we're doing well here. And people seem to be holding up. I don't see a lot of stress. I've been doing, I'm studying tech on the side. I managed to code my own shitcoin last year, but I haven't deployed it in any way because I have no clue how I did it or what it would actually do in someene's wallet. So
it's like the new Hello World program is I coded a shitcoin.
Right. Exactly. But I've been studying Linux and doing they got divorced a couple of years ago and moved from Alaska down here. So I'm starting everything all over. And I've been doing catering temp because it actually pays really well here. I average about probably $23, $24 an hour doing that. But there hasn't been anything since mid-December. The economy was already crashing. These big tech guys were not having the parties that they had a year ago and 2 years ago. Everything has slowed way down already anyway. But I went back to work. Like I got scheduled for a few shifts at the Microsoft Executive Briefing Center in January, but all of those shifts got canceled. And I have friends that work there like pretty much full time, and they haven't been. They started canceling all the events there probably the second week in January, and then every single tech event that I was scheduled to work at or scheduled to attend got canceled, just like from like the second week in January. So I would say that that like Google and Microsoft and the other companies around here really got ahead of it and really minimized their risk and sent people home, you know, to work from home early. And I think they just acted really responsibly. I hate them, but they acted responsibly.
That's right. And it's funny, all these little signals that we have, like certainly going backwards, we didn't know it would be like this, but you know, you had all the little signals of the canceled parties. Balaji was all going off about the tech bros and the handshakes and the distancing and this kind of thing. And that was, you know, January, February. So I think the Bitcoin community has known about this a long time. The tech community has known about this. Certainly the scientific doctors, other people like that. I remember, and it's the strangest thing, it's a very small memory, but I remember on Google News reading something in January about the new strain of pneumonia that was in China and that it was highly infectious. And, you know, it's the kind of thing you read you read so much news. There's so much barrage of, you know, news and entertainment and all these things that we're just taking in these days. And in the back of my mind, it was like, yeah, that could be a big deal. Keep an eye on that, you know, and you don't sell all your stocks immediately. You don't sell your Bitcoin because, you know, you love Bitcoin. But you just kind of float along into it. And the bigger and bigger it got, the more events they started shutting down, the more, especially on the TV, when they started spacing out, when they canceled Saturday Night Live, you know, it really starts to hit home. And then the basketball league closed down and you're like, whoa, the big guns have taken control in a lack of national leadership, obviously. But yeah, it's been super crazy and surreal, huh?
It has. I feel like it's going to be. I'm kind of blessed that my boyfriend's a germaphobe. Otherwise, I'd be likely to break quarantine. But he's like, social distance. No, I don't want to die. I'm like, okay, dude. But I'm just really. It looks. I think we're another week or two out before we hit the peak here, ostensibly. But it looks like we're really flattening the curve. I'm still confused about the stuff that's going on in New York, where they're all the live streamers that are going and finding hospitals where there's not a lot of stuff going on, and then there's reports of like overwhelmed emergency rooms, and that's really confusing.
Yeah, that's very strange. I don't know how to explain that either, and certainly keeping an eye on it and open to exploring it. I've seen, you know, some videos of, you know, bodies being loaded onto trucks, and I've seen pictures of trucks with bodies in them. But then we've also heard the opposite of these other reports. And it might also just be, you know, news using footage that looks live but isn't really live. And the hospital was busy yesterday, but you also hear of people dying of it. And the Fountains of Wayne guy passed away. He's the lead singer. So there are, you know, people. It is affecting people. It is spreading. And again, staying home's the best thing we can do.
I think so.
Yeah.
We need to stay away from each other. And I'm glad they're admitting masks work.
Well, almost. It's
kind
so
of.
funny. Yeah,
Scarves are better, though.
Yeah, scarves are the best. Dan, did you have something to say? Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I was just going to point to my snood, but it's gone now because the more important ones are these ones. Those are probably more effective than a snood or a scarf. But I definitely agree with you there on the conflicting reports that you're seeing. And it's so difficult to be able to verify, especially if you don't live anywhere near there. You know, I've been to New York 3-4 times, but I wouldn't be able to go, oh yeah, that's so-and-so, you know, hospital. Interestingly, they could be, do you know what they could be? They could be doing, and maybe we should reach out. Maybe if you're in New York, do this. Give us some details of a Bitcoin block as you're walking by one of these empty hospitals. Prove it using the hash, using the blockchain. That would be quite cool. Maybe news will eventually go that way, where they're timestamping stuff and it's all visible. I mean, I don't know how you'd even verify that over the top, because you could probably still scam it. But the whole misinformation thing is a real pain in the backside, because you end up, it's very easy to look at something, it sounds logical, it looks real, and then you retweet it, and then 2 seconds later someone completely schools your ass, and you're like, oh no, we should have checked into it a bit more.
Welcome
So
to the internet.
more information. Yeah.
A couple of the guys that are, it seems like 3 of the guys doing it all know each other. And then they're also like, one of the guys has like 3 different channels. I was subscribing to all this stuff at first. And so I'm starting to feel like that's really getting super slammed. Like these 3 people who are convinced that it's all a scam and nobody's getting sick and it's all made up. It was like my YouTube feed was just full of that stuff, because they're uploading each other's stuff. They're like re-premiering their own videos on like 3 different channels. You go, oh, this is something new. No, it's not something new. This is the same thing he already put on 2 different channels. And that kind of makes me suspicious, kind of like, like, how do you know that that's real?
Absolutely. And that's not good behavior if they're doing that. They're trying to spread the word. That's how you spread it if it was fake, right?
Right. It made me really suspicious.
And it's much easier to spread.
But in the meantime, I'm wearing a mask, staying home, keeping.
Well, I mean, we haven't really given up our freedoms yet. I mean, we're staying home voluntarily. We're wearing masks voluntarily. I mean, we've gotten more like a lockdown order here in Nevada. Keeping an eye on the price of Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin seems like it's up 3.7% recently, with a last of 6,909. So it's almost taking off as you watch this show. Maybe it's because the 23 Enigma of people have liked us. So thanks to everybody for liking this show. Sorry, go ahead, Jennifer.
Do you think, Tom, is it because you would have been on your European tour now? Do you think it's like that you've tricked the universe into thinking, or that you're on tour, and therefore Bitcoin is, because everyone else is static? It's like Tom must be on tour.
It could be the CoinFest bounce. I was supposed to be in Manchester at CoinFest right now. I would have been at the Majorca Blockchain Days about a week ago in Spain. That would have been a fun time. I think they might have had a small meetup anyway. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a picture from last year. But yeah, we could have faked out the Bitcoin. I saw a little while ago people thought that I was in Budapest. I put up some video and pictures from there. Basically, as part of my Twitter, which is, of course, full of Bitcoin and these days political and coronavirus news, I've also been trying to tweet some distractions as well. Some nice pictures of the British Museum and maybe some pictures of Budapest. And I saw a nice movement to fill Twitter with landscapes. I think that's a good idea. So yeah, I've been trying to do a little palette cleansing on there as well.
I love your art pictures. I've got some from the Boston Museum of Fine Arts I could be throwing up. I should go back and go through my old art pics.
I think it's a great time to sort photo albums, and I use iPhoto or whatever, so I like to do the favorite button on my best photos, and it's a great way to have like a little link back to that day or that album or that museum or whatever. But yeah, it's a great time to sort photos and to publish some too, just because they're pretty, right? It doesn't have to be any reason. And I mean, I'm also, spoiler alert, but when I get tired of doing best of the British Museum, I'm going to do best of some other museum. I'm going to start. There's no reason that I can't just post pictures whenever I feel like it. They're not scheduled or anything. I could use Buffer and these other advanced tools, but it just seems more like whenever I have that feeling, I'm like, let's find some cool pictures, and everyone else should do this too, and tweet them to @MadBitcoins, and I'll retweet landscapes or art or anything positive, right? Any positive pictures, right?
I remember where you were, that you for a while there on Twitter, you were posting all those pictures of the Klimt repros that were like painted on walls and stuff outside.
Oh yeah, those were in Austria, in Vienna at the Secession Museum. And there's an interesting story there where Klimt and some other guys started the museum, and they kind of had their movement of art there, and it was a way where they could display their own stuff. And I think Mondrian was involved and some other people like that. But yeah, down in the basement there, there's like a golden Klimt that's painted on the wall of the basement, and that's it. Can't move it. It's there. So it's a permanent exhibit. So it's pretty nice.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for talking to me, and I'm out of things to say.
All right. Well, thanks for the call, and give us a call anytime. And especially good to get a checkup from the Seattle and the Washington area. So very cool.
Excellent. Talk to you later.
All right. And you can give us a call now. We've got the phone lines open at 1-518-600-1949, or you can call us on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. Internationally, put 001 to dial in there. Maybe if you guys call so much, we'll never even get to the news. Oh, nah, we're gonna do some news anyway. We got to do news.
Just very quickly on the photos that you were posting, it was hilarious how people thought you were in Hungary at the time, like a few days ago, and everyone lost their shit. There was like, yeah, they were practically calling you a murderer. Some of them. They like,
did.
What are you doing? You're not wearing a mask. The blood is on your hands.
They really did. They couldn't believe it. They were
was
super
vicious.
mad that I posted that video from Budapest. And, I thought at a very, cursory examination, it's winter now, right? It was clearly a lot warmer in that picture. Anyone could kind of analyze it that way. And also, I just love that people believe that I travel so much that I could be in Budapest just, magically. And sometimes that's true in the old days, just a little bit. I got to move around there. But yeah, I don't know if it's going to be like that in the future. But yeah, it was fun getting that response, and definitely something to do again, because I have hundreds of thousands of photos. I mean, I can be anywhere, and I could even fake it, like, doing little details like, oh, here's a close up of that last one, and here's a different angle. And it's like, well, he must be there. He has 3 different angles of the dang thing. But no, the reality is I just shot 3 different angles of it already. So, but let's try to bruise our way through the news. There was another Trump press conference. I didn't watch it, which helps a little bit. But I can tell you just from a preview, it was out of this world. There were no doctors, there were no scientists, and they mainly talked about the drug war in Latin America. Like, you think I'm making that up? Like, you're being absurd. No, that's what really happened. They had like a guy from the Coast Guard and all this other thing. They talked about basically as a part of the coronavirus, allegedly, these drug cartels are upping their shipments and they're doing more bad things. And this version of the coronavirus press briefing from yesterday was about protecting us and defending us from those bad things, while all of our old people are being slaughtered by this virus. So, that's a thing. And we'll play some clips of that. And there's also a lot of other great news. But you should wear a mask, give us a thumbs up, get your cup of coffee, and let's do it. Let's try to get some news going. So here we go. We're going fast. Space flight now. The European Space Agency has suspended science operations on 4 of its missions, including the Solar Orbiter spacecraft launched in February and both of ESA's Mars orbiters. This is terrifying. I don't know if they're abandoning the orbiters. I don't know if they're maintaining contact with them. We've also been tracking in the U.S. the status of the new replacement for the Hubble telescope. It may be delayed as well. The Webb telescope, which I don't know. I mean,
please no more delay.
I'm an old person. I remember when the Hubble went up, we got the most amazing images from like the day that the Hubble got in contact to every day after that from the Hubble. And I can only imagine the new Webb telescope. I hope it gets launched. And this is terrifying to think that they've launched these things and just given up, that you can't staff the room. If you can't staff the room to contact the orbiter or whatever, you have to give it up. I mean, you can hopefully still get some data. It's not a complete loss. Obviously, these are millions of dollars projects, years and years of scientists' lives. But yes, the COVID thing is very serious. The European Space Agency suspended operations. NASA's been talking about the same thing.
Yeah, the James Webb is going to be pretty ninja, and it's going to be like as if Hubble, when you compare the two, Hubble's using a potato as a lens, like it's like gigapixels, or it's pretty insane. I've been waiting for it for years. In fact, my favorite little meme that I post every now and then when I get upset that I see that it's delayed again is when Cartman freezes himself because he's waiting for the Nintendo Wii to come out. So it's like waiting for the James Webb Space Telescope, and I'm still frozen. I'm really looking forward to it. It's gonna be so cool. I think that there's just the mirrors are massive, folds out. It's going to go way out in orbit, like around the sun or around the Earth. It's good. sounds pretty ninja, man. We just got to hope that because it's going so far out, they don't need to, like, they don't, something doesn't go wrong like with Hubble where they had to, fly out there and make a few updates, because going out all the way out there on the sort of, huge orbit that it's going to be on is going to be very difficult for.
Well, hopefully by then we can send a drone ship or some kind of unmanned remote control ship to repair it by then. But who knows? But let's keep going. Like I said, and I don't know that we really need to play this, but we're just making you guys aware. People are dying because of a deadly pandemic, and Trump has Mark Esper, acting defense secretary, briefing the press about drug smuggling for obscure reasons. So this is legit. This is what the world's like these days. As Yamiche Alcindor says, for context, this is probably the first White House coronavirus task force briefing that I have seen since the outbreak that hasn't featured the top scientists and health officials speaking in the first 30 minutes or so. So far, it's been President Trump and security officials. So apparently, this is what we need to know. Also, President Trump announced at the briefing that he is number one on Facebook. However, a quick fact check showed that this is not true. President Barack Obama seems to have twice the number of followers as President Trump.
I looked into that as well last night because I saw someone tweeting about it, and just to go down some of the top list, it's actually it's a really odd list, to be fair.
I want to pick some like Kim Kardashian, Kanye West. I want pop stars. What have you got?
I'll give you the top. I'll give you the top 10, but we might go down a little further because there are some funny ones in there. Okay. So the top liked is Facebook. Second liked is that's 240 million. Second is Samsung. Third Cristiano Ronaldo. 4 Zuckerberg. 5 Real Madrid. 6 Coca-Cola. 7 FC Barcelona. 8 Shakira. 9 CGTN. 10 Vin Diesel. That's quite random, you think? And then there's all sorts just after
Fast
that.
and Furious.
We've got Mr. Bean. There's a few football. Mr. Bean, Eminem, McDonald's, Rihanna, Will Smith, Bieber, Harry Potter, Michael Jackson, Swift, Candy Crush, Bob Marley, and then way after that there's Obama and what's his name, Trump.
So all those people are above Trump on Facebook.
Oh, that's just like
that's really unfortunate. 30. Like you go out and you say you're number one on Facebook, but then Facebook is number one on Facebook. So who is number two again? Who is the best?
I did try and look at
Justin Bieber. What was the number?
Was referring to?
Who was Dan? Who is number two again? Who is number two on the list? After
number
Facebook.
2. Oh, number 2 is Samsung.
Oh, all right.
Or as a human? Were you thinking a human?
Yeah. Is there a human?
Facebook, Samsung, and then it was like Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh, Cristiano Ronaldo. Okay, so the football player is number 1, soccer player. All right. He's huge. Brazil is great at football. He's amazing. I get him confused with Ronaldinho and Ronaldo and all the crew. But let's keep it going on the news. We are shipping things, President Trump says. But he also confirms that the federal stockpile of personal protective equipment, things like masks, gowns, etc., is nearly depleted. So much for that. Let's keep going. They say this is an inside baseball story. Jim Acosta, CNN, writes, and again, everyone's like, oh, CNN, it's fake. Anyway, it says, Trump advisor working with White House officials on messaging for pandemic said that Trump took a gamble that warmer weather would cause coronavirus to dissipate, siding with aides, pushing back on dire warnings coming from doctors. He took a gamble and got it wrong. I'm not so sure, but just by analyzing that statement there, he sided with aides instead of dire warnings from doctors. So it seems pretty natural that you would get that outcome. I don't know. But yeah, the warmer weather thing did not work out. And even at the time, it seemed that you could look at the southern hemisphere where it was warm already, and they still had cases down there. So I wasn't really seeing that. And at the same time, hoping for it because it gets plenty hot here in Las Vegas. And as soon as it's hot, I'm sure the virus won't live outside, but it'll still continue to spread inside. I mean, we could still sneeze on each other and spread the virus. We've got news from United Airlines. They received a $58 billion taxpayer-funded bailout, and they're laying off employees. So unless you put it in the law that you can't lay off employees when you take federal money for a bailout, they will do it anyway. So the airlines are laying off employees, which again, let's talk about the different ways to handle this. In Denmark, in other countries, they maintain the status of the firm. You work at Jamba Juice, they trained you to make Jamba Juice, you should go back to work at Jamba Juice. When they gave the money, theoretically, to the Danish companies then continued paying their employees as part of the deal. In the United States, mainly we've tried the unemployment insurance route. We've broken up all the firms. All the knowledge of Jamba Juice and McDonald's and your restaurant and wherever you used to work, that's all gone now, right? You're an independent agent again, hoping to get money from the government until that runs out, and then you're going to get a new job. So United Airlines, one of the things that we did bail out in addition to the unemployment insurance, is laying off employees because they didn't put it in the law that you can't do that, so they did it. The last time that they gave companies like this bailout money, they took the money and did a buyback. They bought back their own stock. So now they own a larger percentage of their company. So they're doing good. They're 2 for 2. 2 for 2, right, Dan? I mean, woo, nice, huh?
Yeah. I mean, that again, going back to that kind of where that trickle down of money's going, and it's clearly not going to go in the pockets of the people that need it. And like similarly, the UK banks actually they've been told that they should be giving government-backed emergency loans, which they are doing. But what they kind of didn't get signed off on was the fact that they're making people back them with their personal assets. So they're government emergency emergency loans, but they're forcing them to back them with their assets. So it's just they're literally whatever they'll do, they're just trying to squeeze people out of every penny, which is why you should get hardware wallet, or just even generate a private key and just buy Bitcoin, send it there, because no one's going to take it from you. No one's going to just suddenly print loads and devalue your Bitcoin, because we know the schedule. So yeah, it's just savage, and it's going to continue happening. I mean, we're going to hear loads of stories like this, I think, and it's going to happen everywhere. Bailouts just going to fill the big pockets.
Definitely, and the American people got 0 shares of stock in United Airlines for all of this. They didn't give us anything at all in exchange for helping them. The same thing, Boeing famously crowed and celebrated how he was not going to give the taxpayers a single bit of Boeing for saving Boeing and bailing them out after Boeing made a bad aircraft, as well as just the general travel slowdown these days. Here's a bit of something nice, another nice way for us to lose our ad revenue. So if you ever wanted to super chat us in the chat or use our Bitcoin donation address that's in the description down below, that'd be great, because basically if you ever say the word coronavirus on YouTube, you don't get any ad revenue. And that goes even worse when you start playing random bits of the Rotterdam Philharmonic Orchestra playing Ode to Joy. Where are the singers? I don't see any singers. Man, that's so good. You just want to keep it going. I mean, who cares about ad rights? Let them mute the video, right? Hopefully they'll only mute this part. There we go. So there's the Rotterdam Philharmonic Orchestra playing from home. So very cool technology.
That's pretty sick.
That's pretty nice, huh? That's a nice little thing.
My friend's daughter had a second birthday, or third. Oh, geez. I hope he's not watching. I do know it. I was just catching out. Their birthday, and everyone came out on the street to sing a happy birthday, which I thought was really nice. She was over the moon. She was absolutely, she loved it.
That's very nice. I've seen a lot of other videos of people like walking down the street, dancing in their neighborhood. They had like a social dancing party or something outside, and other things they're trying to do for the kids, putting teddy bears in the window, trying to keep a little positivity. It'd be a very tough time to be a child right now. You're always told you can't go outside. Now you're really told that you can't go outside. Like the hammer is really down. I can imagine you get a lecture because you went outside against the rules. Imagine getting that same lecture now. The fury that you could have died or you could have infected your whole family. There's a lot. Like I remember I used to work in an office and I was surrounded by all these secretaries, and they used to watch all the local news, and all the local news at the time was just about kidnappings and murders and rapes, and they basically believed the whole world was kidnapping, murders, and rapes, and that everyone was after their daughter, and so on and so forth. So these secretaries were under a great deal of fear all the time, and now I can only imagine it's so much worse. In many ways, the fear is justified. The coronavirus is an invisible virus that's everywhere, that's trying to get you and your whole family, and doesn't care. Doesn't care that it's your 30th birthday or your 50th birthday or your 90th birthday. It's just a vicious, vicious virus out there. So, but let's try to keep the news going, right, Dan? We're on some kind of schedule here. Trump is talking about migrant caravans now. This briefing is barely about the pandemic that's killing hundreds of Americans every day. And as you can see, they're still standing shoulder to shoulder, not doing social distancing. We can see the media has these big orange signs and all these empty seats. It's almost like two different worlds, right? The people up on stage are immune to viruses, maybe even especially this guy, and everybody else is afraid of viruses. So just a very strange image just looking at that. But we don't have to play that video either. Let's keep going. We talked yesterday with our friend in Moscow, and he talked about how they're working on an app, and he's worried about it because Russian apps haven't been too great lately. And turned out he was right to be worried. IT officials in the United States are checking out what Moscow seems to be rolling out, a mandatory geolocation-based COVID tracking app towards the end of the week after leaking what they called a beta version of the app yesterday. IT specialist guy here got his hands on the beta, and folks, he says it's bad. Definitely, it's going to be bad in all the ways you expect. Leaking data, being cracked, giving all your information to the government forever, tracking all the people around you, because it has to, right? To track the virus, it has to track your associations, which is what everyone had always feared, right? A big list of everybody you spent more than 3 minutes standing next to all day long, right? That's crushing.
The same thing's happening. Well, already happened in South Korea, right? That's how they've sort of got it under control, is by heavy tracking. But I suppose I think from what my friends have told me about South Korea, is that it's the government's not respected, but over the UK, like everyone hates the government, or pretty much everyone does. In the US, obviously, there's pretty much a 50-50. But in South Korea, it seems a bit more, they listen to the government and kind of respect a bit more.
South Korea, maybe open source,
they were kind of happy about and also the way they use information and data. They've been a very, cashless country. I mean, not completely cashless, but QR codes in taxis since, when I first went there in like 2011 or 2012 or something. So, yeah, I think that it kind of, some of these steps aren't so big for certain countries that have already done that leap into, reducing cash significantly and being online all the time.
I'd also think that the South Korea app is probably better technologically than this Russian app. The South Korean app was open sourced last week. So the Russians could have just used that app or modified it slightly, changed the name and the graphics or something. But instead, they wanted to write their own. So this is going to be a problem. We're also going to see these apps everywhere, maybe even 50 different apps for 50 different states. Who knows? It's a great image you got going there, Dan. You have to watch that later. Great question to Trump. What has changed your thinking on comparing coronavirus to the flu? Trump said, the severity of the virus changed his thinking. So that's a good thing. Things changed. The virus became more severe, and he changed his thinking. So anyone in the chat comparing it to the flu, it's over. President has changed his thinking because of the severity. Christopher Boozy says, there is no damn friend in a coma. Stop lying. I didn't watch the press conference, but that means he must have mentioned his slightly overweight real estate friend who's in a coma, who's very tough, who he called on the phone and he couldn't reach. So we'll see the story of Trump's friend in a coma we continue to track. So
I was genuinely intrigued by that, and so I did a bit of research, and it does turn out that in the New York Post actually they posted this on March the 24th, and there's lots of people that are lots of people would confirm it even if it wasn't, but it seems to, with the sources, that it's a guy called Stanley Chera, who's a real estate guy in New York, 78 years old. Big guy, fits all the things, and he's in a coma as well. There was actually, the reason why he was reported on, because there was a bit of controversy with, word on the street they were saying was that Trump gave him a bit of a warning and said, get out because things are going to get nasty. But yeah, it does turn out that it does seem like it's a person that does exist in this sense. So, could have been, like we said the other day, that they wanted a bit of OPSEC. They didn't want to know who they were or saying the name directly. But it seems like
I think that's great news. I think it's good that the president actually has a friend, first of all, and that he's not that he's not Harvey the rabbit, that he's not an imaginary friend in his pocket or a giant 8-foot tall rabbit or something like that. So I hope best goes out to him. I hope he gets out of the coma soon. Obviously, as a news matter, we should probably monitor this situation, and I hope he turns it around. I mean, it's going to be tough. We'll have to see how the president takes it. It's kind of it's a big national story now. It's a piece of entertainment. It's a piece of history. It's bigger than just two guys. But we'll have to keep watching that guy. Once again, we talked about the counter-narcotic operations in the Western Hemisphere. We're deploying additional Navy combat ships, aircraft, Coast Guard. It's not at all wagging the dog, the classic thing they accused Clinton of in the middle of the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Why does a dog wag its own tail? Because the dog wags the tail. If the tail were in charge, the tail would wag the dog. So, but let's keep going. They came in illegally. What about the 5 million undocumented immigrants who pay taxes but won't receive aid from the government? How will they survive? Trump says they came in illegally, and we have a lot of people who don't have jobs. So, doesn't sound good for the 5 million undocumented immigrants. They won't be receiving any aid. Big Brother is here, wrote Omir, a young father, on Facebook, minutes after he received the text message that he'd been close to a virus carrier in the previous week. And, well, on the theme of this show, talking about South Korea, talking about Russia, we're now talking about Israel. Israel begins tracking and texting those possibly exposed to coronavirus. This seems different than installing an app like South Korea, or even having an app that's forced to be installed like Russia. This seems like they went from the other direction, went to the phone records directly, took over the phone company, however you want to say it, and they're big brothering everybody in Israel. What do you think, Dan? Is this too far, or is this what you got to do? Israel's a small country. They probably live close to each other, most of the population in 1 or 2 cities. If this thing spreads, it's going to spread crazy there. We know South Korea, Hong Kong, with the testing, these other Asian countries got out ahead of it. What do you think? Is this too much?
Sorry, I made myself laugh, and I've got to say it while it's still fresh in my head. But Jeremy asked what country is said to shoot people who break quarantine, and I suddenly thought, well, Belarus will probably the governor or president of Belarus will shoot people if they do quarantine, because he's like, get out, stay out in the streets, everything's all good, you sort it out, the rest of the world. So that did tickle me.
About the strictest we've seen so far is a couple of days ago when Hungary became a dictatorship. I think they're punishing 8 years in jail for breaking the quarantine. So that's not quite shooting, depriving of life. but 8 years in jail would be pretty serious. And I don't know what the Russian rules are going to be for the quarantine, or even the Nevada rules, really, if we want to get down to it. I think Nevada, they just send you home. But in other countries, it could be more extreme, and it could be more extreme here. Once again, we agree, we disagree, all these things, but this Israel Big Brother text program is certainly further. It's further than Russia, and it's further than South Korea, right? Those are the two things we can say. And I don't know what the United States are going to do. Like, we're very reactionary, right? Something happens, we move the Overton window, we change our minds. But let's keep going with the news. We're still fighting our way through it. Dr. Fauci at the briefing, it would be cool if he's there. I don't know if this is a different quote. He said, "The ultimate game changer will be a vaccine. We are right on target for a year to a year and a half for vaccines." So I wish we'd moved a little, because I thought we were a year and a half a few months ago. So I'd rather be at like maybe 8 to 12 months now, something smaller. But we're still keeping an eye on it. Vaccine is really the only way out of this.
I've been seeing some really odd, obviously this is, hardcore conspiracy stuff, but, and I can't validate it because I don't know, I can't, the science or the biology down to that level, but there's kind of two things floating around at the moment that sort of, friends of friends are sending on. One of them is that men specifically, it's likely to cause, blank issues.
Shooting blanks.
You know what I mean?
I know they've said that it's more fatal to men.
Yeah.
That officially, as a scientific, it's more fatal. More men are dying.
Yeah.
But I don't know about conditioning issues. Yeah.
It was. That is, well, the other, this is speculation, of course. So one is that men die more, and what was the other? There was another crazy one that I saw. Oh yeah, it's got I think it was linked into that nano scientist that got sued or something last year, who worked in Wuhan from the US and was embezzling, I don't know. And apparently he invented something so that they I don't know, what's it called, NFC, and suddenly it activates or deactivates the thing. So there's some crazy stuff floating around. I don't believe either of those. And I definitely
during
hope
the speech, Trump said well, should we have a GPS that goes off like an alarm when you're near someone? Maybe. But yeah, a nano scientist, that sounds like what we need. Like that Vonnegut book we were talking about the other day. We could shrink the scientists down really small and then inject them in the bloodstream, like Fantastic Voyage. Have a submarine go down there, fight this thing. We have a lot of options we're not exploring.
Inner space.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a remake of Fantastic Voyage. But
yeah.
Fantastic Voyage. But here we are. They said, what should you do if you don't have health care? And Pence's plan for Americans who don't have health insurance and get sick with COVID-19 is for them to rely on the insurance companies. So that's pretty messed up. As you guys have no doubt read in the news recently, a lot of people have been tested for COVID-19 without insurance. Found out later that they owe $20,000 to $30,000. Most people don't have that. Most people don't have $3,000. But yeah, it's kind of callous here for the vice president to say that you should just use the health insurance companies even if you don't have health insurance. This is kind of one of those tone-deaf statements, like when Marie Antoinette said you could eat cake. It's like, we don't have any cake. We don't have any bread. We don't have any cake. We don't have anything. But the best,
because I thought I read a while back that that they said that it's a national. Maybe they were just discussing it, but I thought I'd read that they decided it was a national problem and that insurance companies would cover COVID specifically with no charges.
That's
but I don't know
that's
that
not
got
quite
through.
the full story. That does seem to be part of it. They've said they'll cover testing, but testing doesn't have anything to do with treatment. Treatment could take a week. Also, the testing takes a little while. You need a place to stay during that. And it's not clear right now. And they're definitely, this is like the idea. There's this other tweet floating around where it's like, hey, can't pay your rent? Just tell your landlord you're having trouble. It'll be fine. It's like, people don't understand how landlords work. You don't understand the relationship the rest of us have with the things that we pay. If you don't pay it, they double the bill on you. Like, it gets much, much worse. Like, they start coming after you. They kick you out. Like, it's not a good idea to not pay these people. and everyone's just being all, casual about it, like, oh, you just don't need to pay, or oh, you can just run up a $30,000 insurance bill, which is, yes, I mean, it's what you're going to have to do. Like, you're not going to have a choice. Even if you have insurance, it's possible you could run up one of these extreme bills if the insurance doesn't actually cover anything. But yeah, Trump said we're going to have a boom economy. It's going to go up. Oh, I like this one. We might play this. This is like kind of a stock trader thing. This is one of those things that the crystal ball guys would tell you. He says we're going to have a boom economy, so that's a good thing. It's going to go up rather quickly. Also a good thing. Maybe a little scary if you're one of these stock trader guys, you know that it goes up and down. Maybe very quickly, and maybe slowly. Right? So this is great. He's got the full gamut of emotions. Let's experience all of the joys of stock markets.
Now, I do think once we get rid of the virus, I think we're going to have a boom economy. I think it's going to go up rather quickly, maybe very quickly, and maybe slowly, but it's going to go up, and it'll all come back. And I think it's
maybe once again
rather quickly, maybe very quickly, and maybe slowly, but it's going to go up.
Maybe quickly, maybe slowly, maybe it comes back, maybe it doesn't come back. It's not like he has a crystal ball. Which, again, we do have for you guys right here, the amazing Bitcoin predictor ball. Let's go ahead. It's a tough question for the ball. We need to give it a chance to prepare. We're going to ask the ball about the economy. Will the economy come back rather quickly? We're even going to give him the fair chance, give him the affirmative question here. So this could work for him. It is certain. The ball has spoken. The economy will come back rather quickly. So unlike other people, the ball doesn't mess around, doesn't say slowly. So I don't know when that's going to be, but it's going to come back quickly. The ball hath spoken. And, a minute ago we were talking about Mike Pence and how he had that whole answer, how if you don't have insurance, you should use the insurance that you don't have to pay for the coronavirus bills that you're going to run up. Well, what's so great about that is that right after that, Trump comes out, and again, this is very meta. This is very inside baseball, but it happened in the real world. He says, I think that's one of the greatest answers I've ever heard because Mike was able to speak for 5 minutes and not even touch your question. Let's play it again for those who think I'm making that up.
If you have it, you have a big advantage, and at a certain income level you do. I think it's one of the greatest answers I've ever heard. Because Mike was able to speak for 5 minutes and not even touch your question.
One of the greatest.
That's what you call a great professional.
That's a great professional.
Let me just tell you, you really are.
That is so sweet.
And it's something we're looking at. Well, I think
other people, like the reporter he can't respond. And again, I know they like it in the chat too. But no, it's what you call a great liar, right? It's what you call, like, not an information person or a professional. I mean, I guess a professional liar. But yeah, what an amazing thing. This is the same press conference. This is supposed to be about the coronavirus, just the facts, ma'am. What should we do? Should we wear masks? How many dead? Instead, it was about all that drug war, military stuff. He's number one on Facebook, and now Mike Pence is a hell of a liar. That Mike Pence is a hell of a liar. He was able to talk for 5 minutes and not even touch your question. That was amazing. I don't know. Do you think that's amazing, Dan? That's pretty awesome.
It's great. It's great footwork, isn't it? I watched it, and last night I did fall asleep at some point. I'm pretty sure I did see Fauci, to be honest. I'm almost certain, but there was obviously quite a lot of general stuff, kind of less specifically medical at the start. But I'm sure you've got it coming. But
I hope we have. I hope we have.
The scarf thing did make me chuckle. I must admit, I was like, I face palmed. I was like, come on.
Well, the scarf thing is hard to tell because he said the same thing yesterday. So I guess somewhere in there he says the scarf's better than a mask. I wasn't able to really find that direct audio. So I don't know if I have that. But let's keep going. What else we got? He
definitely said it. He was like, the experts say, some even say it's better than a mask. Or he said something like that.
I don't know. We'll have to see if we have the scarf clip. But
I mean, technically, if you could get on semantics and you could say that the way he chose his words would be like, oh, yeah, of course, if the scarf was made of Teflon or like something like that.
Sure.
So you could probably worm
fair.
around it. But it was quite interesting to see live and be like, oh my God. You can't say that.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see if we have that one. I've retweeted a lot of stuff, but Uh-oh, we're getting a red light on the internet. Oh, it's coming back. Anyway, we're checking out the price of Bitcoin. It's up 4.55% with a last of 6,967. Why couldn't it be 69? 6,969. Come on. Up. No, it went down. Didn't work that time. But we're keeping up with the news. It's 10 o'clock. Be sure to give us a thumbs up. We've got 30 people sticking with us, interested in the news, and we've got 25 thumbs up. Hey, that's pretty good. That's a lot of thumbs.
That's a lot of thumbs.
Aaron Rupar, the guy who's been giving us all the great video at ATRUPAR. He's a journalist at Vox.com. He says, Trump is now in the habit of trying to blame Obama, who left office in 2017, for the CDC botching the development of a coronavirus test in January and February 2020. It has gotten very confusing. There's these 3 years in between when Obama leaves and when we have coronavirus problems that seem to have completely dissipated. There was nothing that could have been done in these 3 years. It must be Obama's fault. Meanwhile, the frackers are beginning to fail, as we've been talking about here. Saudi Arabia pushing down the price of oil to ruin the domestic United States oil market, and as well as the Russians. Shale Group Whitting files for Chapter 11. So even Trump's news today that he is working with the Russians and the Saudis to perhaps stop this oil crisis has not saved at least one shale oil company, with others perhaps to fail soon. A sad farewell to Adam Schlesinger, songwriter for rock, film, and the stage. He died at 52 years old because of the coronavirus. He made suburban characters shine in Fountain of Wayne songs and brought pop rock perfection to the Tom Hanks film That Thing You Do. He did the great song Stacy's Mom, has the fantastic music video. Just a fun, very poppy, very catchy song. If you even think about it right now, you'll start singing it. And he also did the very poppy That Thing You Do by The Wonders, which a lot of people, if you've seen that Tom Hanks movie, That Thing You Do, it's kind of a Beatles movie. And it's so important that that song be good. If you watch that movie and they kept playing that song and it wasn't catchy and it wasn't good, the movie would kind of fall flat on its face. So he really brought this movie together. He was also working on, I've heard, a musical with Sarah Silverman to be based on her book, The Bedwetter. That sounds like a good one. They say he was very close to Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony, the EGOT. Speaking of EGOT, the price of Bitcoin just jumped. It's now up 8.25% in the last 24 hours with the last of 7,198. So get ready with your Vegetom memes. Checking out the price of Bitcoin. Let's go back over to Bitcoinal. Look at that
a stream of BitMEX wrecked.
Big jump at the end. Was anybody shorting? I hope anybody wasn't shorting.
Oh, look at that.
It seems like it's
got
driving.
It's got movement there.
Let's see. We can't quite see it on Bitcoinal. We're going to zoom out. Zoom out. Oh, yeah, we're on the zoomed in one. I've got a couple of display options here. Let's go to full screen. Full screen. Bring up the charts. There it is. Bitcoinal. We still can't see it on the full screen. Man.
Lovely.
Okay, so full screen. I'm going to adjust the charts. Let's see. Everything's on the edge of the display, but there it is right there on the edge of the display. You can finally see it. We got a big up in the price of Bitcoin, jumping up. Can't really see how high it went there, but it definitely went over this because we're down. We are down to $7,200 almost. The price of Bitcoin. It's almost as if the price of Bitcoin likes this show. The more we do this show, the more thumbs up we get, the higher the price of Bitcoin goes. Let's get back to the news. We're fighting our way through this sad news. We talked about that guy. Also, rest in peace to Thrasher Magazine's Jeff Grosso. His grinds were long. His backside airs were head high. He always skated with style. And he also passed away from the coronavirus. Sad story. There's also a comment on here. The guy said, "No, that can't be true." And then he had to respond again. He's like, "Yes, that is true." So sad farewell to Thrasher Magazine's Jeff Grosso. We've also got a nice palate cleanser here. Cast members at Walt Disney World are continuing to raise the American flag on Main Street, USA at the Magic Kingdom during the park's closure. So there's a romantic image of the American flag still flying over Main Street. Also from our Disneyland update, Walt's lamp still glows on Main Street, USA. And in old Disneyland, Walt Disney used to have an apartment right there above the fire department. He loved to stay in the park. He dreamed it, then he lived in it. And Walt Lamps still glows. He's still in there working on new ideas for Disneyland, even though everything's closed.
Yeah, we literally had to pay. So a group of 16 or 17 of us are going, and we've got this big. I mentioned to you, Tom, actually, you've got to come if the world is back in
south of France,
again.
baby. Yeah,
south of France, massive chateau, multi pools and stuff like that. And then Disneyland trip on, to take Hudson, the kids, everyone's kids. But the day after we paid the final bit, which actually was only a week or two ago, we knew it was coming. Disneyland were just like shutting shop. So, but we had to pay everything, because if we didn't pay and they cancelled, then we would get nothing. So it's savage, but we had to all fork out all this money, pay for everything, just to know that a day later it was going to be cancelled.
Is there any hope? Are you going to get coupons or something? You can go to Disneyland in the future? Or?
I'd hope so. I'd hope so. If not, Mickey Mouse is getting a kick in the nuts.
Euro Disney kicks. Check it out.
Disney.
March 1st, we were a dumpster fire and the end was near. April 1st, we're a dumpster fire and the end is near, but at least we're wearing a mask. so it goes. Nice little cartoon graphic there. Kind of a light moment in the presser. We're looking for any levity we can get here. A reporter asked Trump a question about reports of increased domestic violence. Trump said, "Mexican violence?" Reporter, "Domestic violence." Trump, "Oh." So I think he'd rather talk about Mexican violence than domestic violence. You hear the things you want to hear. But it is an important note. If you're stuck at home in an unsafe situation, it's okay to call for help. There's got to be like a safe helpline or a shelter that you could go to, some kind of alternative situation. Sometimes seems like you could live through this thing, but then if you get locked up with the wrong person, maybe there's a better place to live. So, more news from the White House Correspondents Association. They voted to remove One America News Network from the White House briefing seat rotation after multiple violations of social distancing policy amid the coronavirus outbreak. And One America News had been keeping the levity going, asking random questions about abortion and other far right-wing issues in the middle of the coronavirus press conference. So it had been pretty wild. Apparently their reporters were not following the rules. There's a list of reporters who now get the seats. So if you don't have a seat, you're not supposed to show up. Their reporter was showing up anyway, which is, dogged and hard work and, nose to the grindstone and all those things. But during the coronavirus, there's only a limited number of seats, and they've removed their seats. George Holston, he's a doctor. He says, "Last night I certified far more deaths than I can ever remember doing in a single shift. The little things hit you. A book with a bookmark in, a watch still ticking, an unread text from family. Pandemic medicine is hard." So shout out and reminder of what it's really like in the field, especially thinking about the book with the bookmark in. That hits me pretty hard, thinking about not getting to the end of the story, never knowing what's going to happen, a watch still ticking, and then, of course, the digitalness, the unread texts, and so many people having to die alone because of the quarantine, because of the infectedness of the disease.
It's awful. The fact that, people dying alone because they can't be, especially if they've got symptoms or whatever, there's so much isolation happening with people that are on. There's my friend's brother who, my friend's brother's and his girlfriend are having a baby, and he couldn't go to the hospital because he had, sniffles. So it's not even just people that are actually genuine ill. it's, you know, people missing out on the birth of their kids as well, which is quite obviously quite sad. It's just such a far-reaching thing, and I do feel for the people in the hospitals, you know, having to see that many people, you know, falling in front of you. But the most horrific part, having to essentially play, you know, switcheroo on lives is it's a horrific thing. So definitely feel for them.
Facebook, and I just found out I'm number one on Facebook. I thought that was very nice for whatever it means. No, it represents something. And did you know I was number one on Facebook? And I just found out I'm number one on Facebook. I thought that was very nice for whatever it means. No, it represents something. And
That's nice.
You're my number one.
Meanwhile, looking at the regional graphs, we see Lombard in Italy is starting to flatten out like Wuhan did. Madrid might even be flattening and bending. Catalonia bending. New York, hard charging straight up, but not so much towards deaths doubling every day. Looking more towards deaths doubling every 2 days, which is not great, but is an improvement. Miami charging straight up. New Jersey starting to get in the game. London, well in the pact, but looking like it's starting to curve. But we're keeping an eye on the regional numbers as well. This is a April Fool's Day joke, but maybe this will hit home for some people. Are you surprised to hear the WHO saying that healthy skydivers don't need to and shouldn't use parachutes? This is backed up by a systemic review of randomized controlled trials published in the British Medical Journal, cited more than 1,000 times. So to determine whether parachutes are effective in preventing major trauma related to gravitational challenge, we've had a systemic review, and we're still working on this. The Surgeon General of Parachutes is going to contact the Center for Parachute Control, and they're going to see if it's okay for you to use a parachute, right? It's pretty good, huh, Dan? I mean, they zing it right in there. I mean, I'm adding a little sarcasm, a little anger to it, but yeah, this mask thing is pretty ridiculous, huh? If you had 1,000 shots, you know, you don't need a parachute.
Sorry.
Go, Dan.
So I've been doing a bit of research, you know, because I felt like I was picking on the WHO yesterday, and you know, maybe digging into them a bit, but it's pretty like, it seems pretty, I don't know, like common knowledge now that they're operating on an insane level that's highly questionable. The advice, I mean, I'll show you, you know, when I go into my little share a few of my articles, something on their own site which absolutely shocked me, the terminology, and it's literally, I just can't understand it. You know, just the basic principles. If you forget about, you know, you shouldn't usually do this, but if you think about the rules of the way this spread, it's, you know, it goes in through your eyes, goes in through your mouth. It's probably not going to go through the other openings. Maybe, I don't know. Depends how much you party, but it's those two areas. So if you end up having a mask and you've got it covering your mouth, now if someone coughs right in your face, there's a hell of a lot less stuff that's going to be passing through. Like it's not even questionable. It's like, I just don't get it. So how you
could take the mask off at the end of the day and see all the dust and the other particles that it kept out. And going back to California, we just had a giant wildfire, right? The whole summer, the whole place is on fire. That's why people have N95 masks in California at all. And during that fire, did we just go outside and take in all the fire particles, the smoke? Did we just breathe that in? Or did everybody get, you know, bandanas, masks, you know, wet cloths, anything to put in front of your face to keep that smoke out of your lungs, right? It seems only natural. Your mouth is connected to your throat, connected to your lungs, right? These are interconnected systems. But the Surgeon General has to ask the CDC. I mean, I think the simplest explanation, Occam's razor, they're worried about a supply crunch. Even now, when they ask Trump, when they ask these people, you know, can we wear masks? Is it okay? No one just says, well, wearing a mask is more effective than raw breathing. Instead, they say, well, we're not sure if the doctors have enough masks, and, you know, maybe you could improvise a mask. And then we're into this slippery slope of you're trying to protect the doctors more than the people, and you're giving out false information. And once you start giving that out, people start doubting everything you say, and now we think it's a bioweapon or whatever. I mean, it's that slippery slope between you lied once to the whole thing's a fraud. So, but we don't need parachutes anymore. Where we're going, we don't even need roads. So, Governor Kemp, I'm not sure where that's at, but he says apparently if you can't pay your rent, just tell your landlord your situation, and I'm sure they'll work with you. Talk about a disconnect from society. That's how you get evicted. That's how they put your stuff out on the street. The sheriff shows up. Governor Kemp is following that example of DeSantis in Florida. He's closing the barn door after the horse has bolted. And yes, they've finally started closing down some of these states. Apparently, he's Georgia Governor Kemp. And he said just today he found out that people who don't seem sick can also be spreading the disease. Just today. And I've got some beachfront property in Nevada to sell you. I've got a bridge. I can sell you all kinds of great swampland in Florida. It's going to be great. So it's pretty amazing. He's trying to say this. He's trying to get away with the ultimate, I didn't understand the rules. I didn't understand the rules. Meanwhile, Georgia is finally shutting down. They have a 30-day stay-at-home order. They're closing the schools for the rest of the year. Breaking news, according to intelligence agencies, China has concealed the extent of the coronavirus outbreak in its country, underreporting both total cases and deaths. We've always suspected this. Many people reading the news, many just common observers of the situation, seeing the size of the Chinese response, which was unhideable, the shutdowns, the lack of pollution, the cranking out of the crematoriums, spraying the buildings with all the stuff, locking the people down. It seemed very obvious for a long time, but now it's been confirmed by U.S. intelligence community, according to a classified report, that they have underreported the cases. And we'll see. I mean, there's not, once again, if there's not an immediate law or international law saying that this is immediately bad, there'll be one next time. And next time we'll be able to say, if you lie, it makes the whole world unsafe. So China is not just trying to protect their own face here and cover up, which I'm probably sure that's what it was. They felt bad. They felt embarrassed. The government has to look good there. But they let the rest of the world down too. And with the next virus, with the next outbreak, there may be international consequences. And there certainly are going to be. People are going to remember that China underreported both the total cases and deaths. Ironically, people in China might believe the opposite, though, right? They might believe that the virus is from the U.S. Because they're watching their media and we're watching our media. So it's an interesting story. Hey, here's our palate cleanser just when we need it, right after the intelligence community freaked us all out. We've already lost our ad rights, so if you guys want to donate or anything, that'd be cool. But here's Larry David. The state of California clearly put him up to this.
I'm Larry David.
He's Larry David.
Obviously, somebody put me up to this. It's generally not the kind of thing I do, but I basically want to address the idiots out there, and you know who you are. You're going out. I don't know what you're doing. You're socializing too close. It's not good. You're hurting old people like me. Well, not me. I have nothing to do with you. I'll never see you, but let's say other old people who might be your relatives. Who the hell knows? But the problem is you're passing up a fantastic opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to stay in the house, sit on the couch, and watch TV. I mean, I don't know how you're passing that up. Well, maybe because you're not that bright. But here it is. Go home, watch TV. That's my advice to you. If you've seen my show, nothing good ever happens going out of the house. You know that. There's just trouble out there. It's not a good place to be. So stay home and don't see anyone, except maybe if there's a plumbing emergency, let the plumber in and then, wipe everything down after he leaves. But that's it. Okay.
Okay. Thanks to Larry David and the state of California for putting that together. That was fun. Let's see. We're still recommending everyone in Los Angeles wear masks. Again, we're seeing this from the mayoral level. Like, we're rolling upward. This is the opposite way that information's supposed to go. And just like you'd think, Yamis questions the supply. She says, the big question is, how are people going to get masks? And will that make masks less available for healthcare professionals? We never seem to talk about just the reality, like Dan saying, just anything over your mouth blocks stuff going into your mouth. Like, you have to be an idiot to not understand that. Like, that's the basic. We're not saying N95 masks. We're not saying you have to get a rebreather or some kind of big filter thing. We're just saying anything is better than nothing, and that if we want to win this thing, we're going to have to wear masks. No one.
You're going to love the official WHO guidance that I'm going to whip out like my wiener yesterday.
Yeah, what'd they say now?
Oh, no, I've got to show you. I'll build up to it.
All right.
There'll be some other WHO stuff, so everyone gets all angry.
We're still fighting our way through this. Shout out to the Apocalypse Booksellers. This is a really cool article if you want to read it in my feed. Normally, would have more times for this, but they're still selling books. They're still going to the booksellers and trying to keep people happy with books, but they think that they're pretty much all going to go out of business. But it was neat to see them still try to help a customer find some good books to get through this. So hopefully you've got a good book to read. If not, maybe check out your local bookstore. Maybe they'll go through and pick out some, talk to you on the phone, and you can just pick them up at the door. That'd be cool. Yeah, they're still blaming Obama. She says, this is Representative Ilhan Omar from Congress. She says, these press conferences are disturbing to watch. It's not only the lies and the spins that are disturbing, but the millions of people who watch and actually believe this insane stuff. It's like watching a train wreck happen and not knowing what to do. It is really like that. They said, here's Luke Zaleski teaching you how con men work. He says, it could be 100,000 dead, or it could be 2.5 times that many, but either way, it will have been a perfect response. He says, and there it is. There's the con right there in plain sight. It doesn't matter the results. If it's 100,000, 250,000, the response has already been deemed perfect. Here's something that seems perfect. Palestinians design a $200 ventilator. As a Syrian girl says, the Levantine people are masters of ingenuity. Not sure how it works. You can see it's got something like rubber gloves or something as part of it. And it's only $200 and it's a ventilator. So this is very exciting to see engineers and designers and hobbyists all over the world working on their own projects to solve this problem that we don't have enough ventilators. So it's very cool to see. As Robert Reich says, hospitals can't get ventilators. Hundreds are dying every day. The government stockpile of critical equipment is almost gone, and yet an emergency order for more golf carts. This is not an April Fool's joke. And 16 hours ago, in the middle of a pandemic, the Secret Service signed a $45,000 emergency order to rent golf carts in Sterling, Virginia, the home of Donald Trump's Virginia Golf Club. In the past, such rentals have preceded presidential golf trips. So keep an eye on that. Might be time to go golfing soon. We've got another distraction here to help you out. The feed is full of things that you don't have to focus on today. Allegedly, this was an intentional detail from director Greta Gerwig. She wanted to show how relevant to modern times the Little Women story was, so she left little hints here and there to our current society. The story could be 200 years ago or current day. What an awesome Easter egg. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but here in the background you can see a hydro flask, a modern water bottle. Oh, you can't see it on this graphic. Okay, let's try one more time. Graphics for the full screen are just difficult to pull. But now let's go to the other screen. Full screen graphics, please. All right, there it is. Now you can see it. In the lower right-hand corner, there's a hydro flask. That's a fancy water bottle. In the back distance behind what looks like maybe a Buddha statue or something is a plastic water bottle. You can see the white top and the label. So it's a twofer. They screwed up twice. This is a period TV show. Probably dozens of people watched this before it went to air. And still, just the shot's too wide. You're focused on the guy. But that was fun. Everyone was distracted for a little while with a little whoopsie in a TV show. Here's a fun image from Andrea Mitchell, a reporter for MSNBC. This is two images cut together. At first, I thought it was one. But on the right, you can see her home studio. She's got some big lights. She's sitting in front of a TV. I might try that. That might be a good idea. And she's reading maybe a big teleprompter or talking to her people. Meanwhile, upstairs, her husband has his little home office. He's got a laptop stacked on 2 reams of paper, and he's Zoom chatting. Spoiler alert for you guys who don't instantly recognize her husband. That's Alan Greenspan, former chairman of the Federal Reserve. This guy was in charge of the bank for most of our adult life, maybe 20 years, more than that. So Alan Greenspan's married to Andrea Mitchell. So it's neat. This is an upstairs, downstairs. They're both working at home on different projects. So very cool. Folks, the number of new deaths per day continued to rise exponentially. Now it was 1,000 deaths per day. Now it's 100 deaths per day last week. So it's getting up. The number of new tests per day is not rising at the same rate. We may soon bend the curve by not testing people. This is not the same as flattening the curve. This is more like when we just go over the bend and we can't even track it anymore because we don't know what's going on. More on the masks from Balaji. He says there's another article from The Atlantic, and it says, everyone thinks they're right about masks, and this is not really helpful at this time. It's not that we think we're right about masks. It's that we are right that masks do work better than nothing. We're not saying that the masks are as good as N95 masks, nor are we saying that you should have a run on equipment and keep it from your hospital. This is going to go on, but for the next pandemic, the American people are going to wear masks from the beginning, and we're going to have much better results. We're going to look back on this one and say, what was wrong with us? Why did we go on so long not wearing masks? It seems so simple. Talking about masks some more. A tough story from Chris Cuomo on CNN. He's having a very tough time with coronavirus. Let's go ahead and play it here. He had a very rough night.
I learned last night. This virus came at me. I've never seen anything like it, okay? So yeah, I've had a fever. You've had a fever. But 102, 103 plus, that wouldn't quit. And it was like somebody was beating me like a piñata. And I was shivering so much that Sanjay's right. I chipped my tooth. These are not cheap, okay? And they call them the rigors, like rigors, R-I-G-O-R-S, but rigors. So the sun comes up. I'm awake. I was up all night. It was I'm telling you, I was hallucinating. My dad was talking to me. I was seeing people from college, people I haven't seen in forever. It was freaky what I lived through last night. And it may happen again.
So there it is, Chris Cuomo having a tough time with the coronavirus. It might even happen again tonight, as he's about to say. Swift on security had some very interesting tweets. Let's see if I can get all 3 of them. No, maybe I have 2 of them. He says, let's see. I thought we had 3 tweets for this. Can't we get all 3? No, apparently not. No, there we go. To be pensive in anticipation of mass death is not maladaptive. You are a regulated system becoming ready for what you must endure. Your anticipation of pain in absence of direct stimulus is not weakness. You are a survivor, unlike any other. You just can't see that yet. To feel pain before it occurs is your blessing and curse. It is the fundamental conceit of conscious thought. It is what you pay to the collector of universal doctrine. For each effect, an affect. In retrospect, it is worth it. In the moment, it is torture. Those before you paid for their instincts. You were paying for the instincts of your progeny, either social or biological. There is worthless pain, yes, but your empathetic curse is a sign of greater resilience instilled by necessity. You have to survive. You were built to do it. Pretty strong words there from Swift on Security. That yes, we are going to lose a lot of people. It does feel bad. It's you wish you didn't have that feeling, but that feeling is worth it. Later on, when we look back, we'll appreciate that we had that feeling and that we were emotional about losing so many people. The alternative to not be emotional while losing so many people seems very detached, very inhuman. And it's also, he talks about surviving and that it's okay to survive and that it's what you have to do. And you can't feel guilty for trying to survive. You have to keep with it. We talked about the body bags. We talked about, remember when people didn't vote because they said there was no difference between Hillary and Trump? And now we're buying 100,000 extra body bags from Canada. That's not a good look. We found the doctor. We played his fantastic clip. It's actually only a minute and 35 seconds. This is the most truth you're ever going to get on Fox News. He nails the whole story in a minute 35.
Testing. Now, what we hear every night is that there are millions of tests available, and yet we don't have that pinprick blood test that you can just sort of get, at your local doctor and know in 15 minutes. But they're working on it.
Yeah, they're working on it. They should have been working on it for months. So the fact is, we knew about this from the WHO when? December 31st, 2019. So last year, we knew about this. We knew coronavirus is coming. We knew it was a respiratory disease. We knew it was person to person. Why is it that it's this week that the FDA finally approved these kind of new Abbott lab testing, which, by the way, is one test at a time? It's a great test, but it's one test at a time. It's different than the labs that are doing mass testing, right? So this is a wonderful test, don't get me wrong, but it's one test per 15 minutes. That's wonderful, but it's not the same volume that you really need. This is better for kind of outpatient clinics and things like that. We needed this months ago. You look at Korea, South Korea and the U.S. had their first official confirmed case on the same date, January 19th. That means since January 19th, you look at what South Korea did and what we did. Their population is 1/6 of ours. Look at the cases they have. Look at the mortality they have. It's a trifle compared to what we're dealing with right now because we've had a very weak response and they had a really strong response.
Bam.
Doctor, thank you. Very
Boom.
interesting to talk to you, Dr.
Nothing
Desai.
left.
Hope you'll come.
Thanks for coming. We'll never see you on Fox News again. But there she goes. Bitcoin enters a historically strong quarter with a 3% price gain. Oh, that's nice. Stay home, wear a mask, don't go out. Tur de Meester writes, I feel angry at several dear friends for not taking this seriously enough. This is a rough patch, in my opinion. This is wartime. To me, that means accept the possibility of death. Compartmentalize if needed. Find meaning on a 5-year time frame and prioritize your nuclear family. Steel yourself. Impressive words from Tur de Meester. Balaji says we're crossing 1,000 deaths per day in the U.S. It is not slowing down. Stay home. Wear a mask. Minimalize deliveries. Save money, but tip delivery drivers. That's a kind thing to say. Work hard. The world needs you. Stay fit. Diabetes is a risk factor. Do this until we've broken the curve. Meanwhile, in China, your life is ruled by a green symbol on your smartphone screen. Green is the health code that says a user is symptom-free, and it's required to board a subway, check into a hotel, or even just enter Wuhan. And we've been talking about this for weeks. It's going to happen slowly or it's going to happen quickly. We can discuss it or we can just sleepwalk into it. But clean and being able to prove that you're clean is the new thing. It's either going to be mandatory, it's going to be voluntary, or it's going to be enforced. So we have to keep an eye on this, see what's going to happen. But any way you look at it, they have to do this. This has to be done. Office, shopping malls, office buildings, public places, subways. How can you have people on there that aren't verified clean? Let's be real, friend. No one's was wide-eyed and optimistic at any point this year. But you can see the comparison. They've got March 1st, Linda Hamilton from the Terminator movie, forever ago, 1989 or something like that. And then we have Linda Hamilton from the new Terminator movie, which of course no one saw. But in both pictures, she's shooting a bazooka, she's loading a grenade launcher. She's ready for this. We've been in Terminator mode for a long time. We talked about this. The U.S. Surgeon General asked the CDC to see if masks are effective. I thought you were a doctor. I thought the Surgeon General should just be able to know that. We talked about Sid Finch, but we didn't have time to read it. It's a fantastic April Fool's joke. If you like sports, perhaps the greatest April Fool's joke in sports history. We talked about shaking hands. Factum is going down, one of the first crowd sale tokens you could invest in the future, and they're facing liquidation. No more funding. Unemployment doubled. The governor in Georgia didn't know that asymptomatic people could infect others. He just learned that today. Nevada's shut down. We've got the National Guard, Battleborn, keeping us safe. Check out Tatiana, Queen Tatiana, and the Tatiana Show on Facebook. We're going to do a Facebook live stream on Sunday, April 8th, from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Check it out. Interviews, live music, and prepping 101. Maybe prepping for next time. Maybe how to make your own mask instruction. David Silver, attorney at law, said differently, a lot of people were bamboozled and lost money on Factum. It is a bad look, but you got to wonder, Ethereum, Tron, anything else, will they have this liquidation?
Just to let you guys know, if anyone else was as dumb enough as me to lose on BitGrail, XBR, XRB, Ryblox, or whatever Nano as it now is, then David Silver he's handling the lawsuit. So check out his Facebook, his DC Silver, and he might be able to help you get some of your shitcoin back.
Very cool. Excellent public service announcement.
It'll also probably quite rightly tell you that you're an idiot for keeping so much on an exchange, and I accept that.
Very honest, that one. Just to be clear, the state of Massachusetts is relying on the New England Patriots to deliver desperately needed medical supplies because the federal government is a dumpster fire. And Bob Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, used the Patriots team plane to shuttle protective masks from China to Boston. That's the level that we're at. Not a good look. Again, the apps are happening in Italy already with policymakers, some doctors and journalists advocating for mandatory tracking of the entire population with utter disregard for privacy concerns. Bonus, the government task force, which is working on these apps in Italy, has no IT security specialist on board. So once again, if we don't comment on these things, if we don't discuss them, they're going to be rolled out without any changes. And these could be disastrous. Hackers could take over the app. Hackers could get all the information. The government could get all the information. Other people could get the information from the government. There's all kinds of potential problems with these apps. Yet at the same time, from a standpoint of tracking and beating the virus, we have to use all our technology. We can't just not use something because we don't feel good about it. We need to put restrictions on it. We need to put controls. We need to have the best guys writing this. We need to open source it, et cetera, et cetera. Or we could just do nothing and wait, and they'll cram some kind of a solution down our throat, which hopefully will have a face mask on it. Wear masks. Stephen Colbert said that he was sad to hear the death of Adam Schlesinger from Fountains of Wayne. He also mentions that he worked on the Dana Carvey show and the Colbert Christmas special. So a very talented musician from Fountains of Wayne passing away. Florida has finally closed their gates, as well as Georgia and Mississippi. All it took was for the president to announce hundreds of thousands of deaths, and they finally closed up. We'll see if we can get a map later on, try to find out how many states are still open, because hardly any. Everyone's starting to lock down, which, if we organized at a national level, would have been more effective. We could have started sooner. We showed that graphic of the 6.6 billion job losses, how it would blow out the top of the previously clever New York Times graphic of 3.3 billion unemployment claims, 6.6 million. That's twice as much. So not billion, sorry, 3.3 million and 6.6 million. The Dow Jones opened even, but then jumped about 2% on the oil news. Not sure what it's doing right now. The governor didn't know until the last 24 hours in Florida that you could be asymptomatic, that you could be not sick, you're not coughing, but spreading the virus. He just learned that now.
Learn something new every day, hey?
Yeah.
To be fair, I only, as far as learning experiences go, I kind of thought I was relatively well researched. And then, out of nowhere, last night, I was finally told that actually scarves are better than N95 masks. So you learn something very new every day.
That is surprising to learn. Jabulon writes, he says, the unique genius of this nation is evident in how we gave the film Idiocracy to the world and in less than a decade turned it into reality. That was a pretty great tweet from the audience there. And here it is. We made it. I can't believe it. We made it through the news. Oh, my God. Give us a thumbs up. We made it through the news. We survived another Trump press conference. The Mad King Trump angers the gods. We might save that for later. That's a lot to read. But Dan, here it is. It's your chance. Let's do the Dan share screen. You got any articles for us?
Yeah,
the price of Bitcoin is up.
Oh my God! So this is it's going to be quite. How do I share? Can't. Maybe I've got to share now. It says you're sharing.
I don't see anything.
Oh no! It says I've got to wait until you're sharing at the moment. So I need you. You need to pass the sharing to me. I think pass the baton.
Okay,
there we go.
I'm not sharing. You disappeared.
Oh, quick shill. This is a tune I covered called The Pretender. It's about someone who pretends to be Satoshi. Can't really say who it is, but it's not allowed on YouTube and it's on BitChute. So I'll post a link in there. But I will change my background for now. I've been very well prepared. Apologies for the lighting. We're poor. There's no supplies and stuff. Remember Anne Frank of the modern age in the loft.
In the loft.
So I was wondering, first of all, am I allowed to read the news whilst this? Is that maybe that's probably not? No, because I don't want it. So there's my snood. So we just cover that. Remember, the snood is from Scarf Guy from Apple.
Everyone in the chat, give us a thumbs up and a share. Be sure to comment.
Thumbs up.
This is it. This is Dan reading the news. It's what you've been all waiting for.
Here we go.
Go ahead.
This is like all my life. So am I sharing now?
Yeah, man. It's like the money printer, mostly.
Oh, you can see. So hang on a second. So share my screen. Here we go. So browser. So first of all, I'm really sorry. I will. I'd love to give up the quintessential English, like stupid blubbering idiot thing, but I really can't. It's I have to fill the gap when I'm trying to get ready. But I'm working on it. I'll be sharper than Hugh Grant soon. But as we're looking now, I think we're going to look at seeing some crossing the million barrier. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out, actually, just on something that I haven't discussed, but if you look at the case of specifically the Diamond Princess ship, that has a mortality rate of, I did a quick calculation. I'm not a scientist, so don't listen to me or take what I say as, as gospel or whatever. But when you take the numbers of the Diamond Princess, it actually works out of a mortality rate of, I think it was like 1.4%. There we go. And that's in an environment where it's apparently had the most chance to spread. It's on a cruise ship. There's recycling of ding dong and dang, and people touching stuff, buffets. So I'm quite surprised that with a primarily older generation crowd, that there hasn't been a higher death rate. And that is very interesting. That I would have thought with the majority of the crowd being over 70, we would have seen something more crazy than that. But interestingly, so going back on the old Alexa company website ranking, World Meters shows as rank 157, which actually puts it about 400 spots above Coin Market Cap. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some sort of World Infometers takeover, which would be absolutely awesome. And moving on. So I've already moaned about earlier about the banks under fire for coronavirus loan scandaling tactics by making people put their assets forward as collateral, which they shouldn't do because this is an emergency. And if you're going to be going money, printer, dinga, brrr, then don't be forcing people to put their assets up. So forgive me, crowd. I'm just going to waffle until he comes back. So he's lucky he's missing this. On personal responsibility, this is interesting. So a dude was coughing on police officers after a COVID claim. Now, I'm not going to lie, I haven't read the article. I've just read the topic, but it just made me think that it's going to be an interesting time when we reassess things assess things afterwards, and we look at how much personal responsibility how much of a factor that plays into these things, and minding that if you are ill, that you don't infect other people. I know I had a really good employer, and they were absolutely fantastic about health issues because they wanted you back at work and 100%. And they would always say, and I thought it was a really good idea, of course, for many logical reasons, if you're sick, don't go into the office if it's a cold or a flu, especially because there were generally at least one pregnant lady around. Don't go into the office if you're sick, sniffling on stuff, wiping stuff on your hands, all of that sort of stuff. So I think there are some cool lessons we'll learn afterwards when we look back and we see how we can change our own behaviors to kind of make sure that we don't let things like the normal flu spread. And I think one of those things, for example, is the standard washing your hands, don't touch your face, good time to quit biting your nails. Of course, I just did that yesterday. Did a little chip chop, and so I don't bite them because otherwise I'm going to get disease and stuff. But in terms of social responsibility, so wearing a mask if you're sick and traveling, coughing and sneezing into a tissue or a hand or at least that sort of stuff, that's greatly going to reduce it. Things like just reminding people that when they sneeze and they get mucus on their hand, and I've seen people do it, it's rancid. They're like blow their nose into their hand, and then they put their hand on the pole for the underground, and you're like, ugh. And then if you forget and you go to put your hand off when you leave and you slide, oh, that was bad. So hopefully less people will be doing skanky shit like that, stuff like that. And also maybe this will be like the time where we'll have the return of, I'll let you get a word in a second, Tom, sorry, I've just been rapping. We get in the UK, we had the Just Say No song, and it was like, just say no to drugs. And it was for Grange Hill, and they all went over to the US and they sang their song, and then they were caught partying and like sniffing coke and smoking weed and stuff. So hopefully they don't do that, but they do, start to teach kids again, like the 80s clips you had in school of don't share a lolly because Timmy will get your, Lauren's germs if she shares a lorry, or John's got cooties and blah, blah, blah. So don't, this, that, and the other. So we might see a good return to how to remind yourself on hygiene and reducing your impact on other people's lives.
Absolutely. It's the return of the wait, you're kidding. He didn't just say what I think he did he? But shout out to JSE 1776 in the chat for a donation of $3.99, almost $4. Thanks so much for using the super chat and donating. He says, keep it going, Thomas. So every little bit helps. Remember, we used to make, we didn't used to make any money. We used to make $2 an episode or whatever, but now YouTube's taken that $2 an episode. So now we made $4 an episode. So we're actually in the black here. That's actually pretty good for us. So that's Dan, that's $2 for you and $2 for me. We're going to the moon, baby. But still, I really appreciate it, and just every little bit does help, and it's cool to chip in.
Even just a thumbs up.
So yeah, even the thumbs up is really nice. We like that. So.
And if you do a thumbs down, please leave an insulting comment explaining why, so that we can refine things. Well, that's not for me to say. It's Thomas's show. But,
well, and while we're talking about comments and stuff, it's always good if you want to have a discussion later on. Like the chat's good, but the comments are for people that maybe can't watch it at this time zone or something like that. You can always timestamp in the comments if you want to have an argument about something. If we say something good, you could timestamp it. I guess if you want to, if we say something bad, you could timestamp it. But just in general, just typing in like 15:35 creates a timestamp in YouTube in the comments, and then you can have a discussion with someone that's watching this later on. So that'd be cool. We'd like to see some more comments and some more discussion after the fact.
There's also a Telegram as well, WCN Telegram. That's I don't think it's been publicized yet. I can't find the link. So if,
I can't find a link either.
We can't find it now. So if you ping us your my Telegram, then we can add you manually. Mine's a bit of a mouthful. It's Crypto Raptor Prestige Worldwide all as one, but only because someone else took Crypto Raptor, sadly, and they tried to sell it back to me for 1 Bitcoin, so they can screw off. So, yeah, likewise for Twitter, sadly. So I'm not the original Crypto Raptor, but so I'll spank through my articles because they're all in a chain. It's reaching a culmination of incompetence. So you got the old Bozza doing the old digital cabinet, stay home, protect the NHS, save lives, all good. But interestingly, doing like I'm not fantastic with OPSEC and that the general kind of data rules and stuff. But if I was the Prime Minister, I probably wouldn't be using all foreign companies that you don't know where the data is going. If I'm honest, I'm not saying foreign as in US, as in it's data that's on foreign soil, other soil. So yeah, it's quite interesting that they're kind of opening themselves up by using that application. Or maybe he was very clever and he bought like shares in Zoom, like I almost did until I got distracted, I don't know, looking at a squirrel or something. So maybe he did that and he's just
that is interesting to see them use Zoom at that level. A lot of people are saying Zoom is no better than spyware and that it's tracking everything that goes on your computer. Yeah. And then they're also saying that it's not end-to-end encrypted. So your chats could be intercepted. Someone from another company or another corporation or government could be listening, which could be a big problem if you're talking about secret information. I do think Zoom's going to improve. They have a ton of money, and I think that they're going to see all these as problems to fix, not as something just to let happen. But they weren't under this kind of scrutiny before. The whole world wasn't using them. It's also interesting to see people go with Zoom instead of Skype by Microsoft. Skype has used to be a great service. Microsoft bought them and ignored them for like 5 to 10 years. And people wonder why Zoom could sneak up and take all of this traffic. And it's just a lack of attention by Microsoft.
Yeah, complacency. If you're sat there and you're not innovating and trying to stay ahead of the crowd, then yeah, people are going to sneak up. And I think Zoom at the moment, I'm not sure what their business model in terms of how good their money making is, but like most of these things, Facebook, it was multi-billion-dollar before it had a proper revenue. Revenues. It was all on the network weight. I was going to say the McAfee effect. That's something like a shotgun and a few lines of salt. But it's the Metcalfe effect, which is something about the inverse of the network is square to the property of Escher's up and down diagram. But basically, the bigger network is, the more people using it, the more weight it's got, the more usefulness, utility, and yada yada yada. So the more value there is in that. Yeah. So waffling swiftly on. This is quite interesting. Just very briefly, there's nothing in particular, but someone pointed out he's got a classic 50 Shades of Cuomo, and I think it could be called. He's spotting some piercings, so which is pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. Or a brace, as someone suggested, but that guy's just got level up respect from me now, because I don't have the guts to do that. Like, my nails are so sensitive, as I'm sure everyone's but enough of my nipples. What do you think of do you think they're tassels or piercings or braces or something that's just under equipment?
Depends on the source of the photo as well. It also could be maybe it's Maybelline, maybe it's Photoshop, right?
I
don't really know. Sorry to put the doubt there. I mean, sure, I guess maybe Governor Cuomo is into some pretty wild stuff, or it's Photoshop. I don't know. So.
No, hopefully not, because I'm all for innocuously cool stuff being photoshopped, as long as it's not something cray-cray. Anyway, so moving on to the slightly more sinister things. There's quite a lot of interesting things going on now in the newsies. Now, I don't know what about Freedom for Economic Education is for Foundation, sorry, whether how reliable it is, but there are a few other people that report on this. But so Oxford-based group, exactly what it says in the title. The WHO data is less than reliable, it seems. Now, this isn't something that's just come from this article. I started researching because of the fact that there's a lot of information coming about the WHO not being so competent. And so moving on to my clincher for me, and this is hilarious. This is the World Health Organization site, yeah? Now, if they have changed it, I'll check the screenshot. But you guys have got to just check something for me, because I'm wondering whether this is correct or whether I'm being ludicrous or whether this is just nuts. It says masks are effective only when used in combination with cleaning your hands. That's like ludicrous. Is Thomas? But a mask is only effective if you wash your hands. Is that insane?
It doesn't seem like the two are connected. I mean, sometimes with information like this, you just want to be a little kind of paternal. You're not like, put the seatbelt on because it'll save your life, So maybe they're just linking the two together because they're talking specifically about the coronavirus. I also think in general, just looking at this page, it's a good idea about disposing of the mask as well. A lot of people think, oh, I wore the mask, I'm bulletproof now. Then they reach up and touch the mask, all the dirty parts, take it off, and then they start touching their face. So in that way, I'm right there with them. You have to wash your hands while you're taking the mask on and off. Like, you really have to think about things more than you used to. I know we've all watched that video with the doctors washing their hands with ink, and there's all these angles of hand washing that you never thought about because it wasn't that important to you. If my keyboard gets dirty, no patient is going to die, right? But for a doctor, you got to wash your hands or somebody could get sicker. That's not what it's about. So yeah, I think they're just being a little overcautious there, and because it would be so easy. Remember, the virus, it's just so good at spreading. It's invisible. It's in the air. It's on your hands. You really have to do a good job to stay clean, or just stay home. Like, I mean, I'm staying home. I'm in my bedroom here. Not much is coming in or out. There are no people here. It travels on humans. It needs a warm body to keep spreading around, and that's just not happening here.
Well, I mean, I definitely agree that it would be enhanced, but and maybe it's just because I'm just being anal as a business analyst. If I was to take that statement, that literally means, if you take it as they have used the words, that masks are ineffective unless, if you use only, that's saying a mask is ineffective unless you've washed your hands. And that to me is ludicrous. I think that's just wrong.
Yeah,
I mean,
if you had your hands outside, your hands are just collecting all the same particles that your mask is collecting. So if you go home,
but your hands on your hands touching your face and your whatever.
I just think it's just common. It's just common sense. I don't think it's a conspiracy, Dan. I think it's just common sense.
Oh, there's no conspiracy. I'm ignorant
people.
Incompetence. It's incompetence. It's incompetence, really.
I think it's like the warning on the McDonald's cup that the inside contents may be hot. Like, we didn't put it there for the smartest tool in the shed, right?
No, but then that's the opposite. Hot. You take the safe. I don't know. I think that's fair enough. You take the safe route, but it's misinformation saying that.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Anyway, just me. So. Classic John Hopkins, who have been this is moving on from the Oxford article, because this actually links in with the WHO and where they're sourcing the information. But interestingly, just hashtag throwing it out there, John Hopkins, currently $1 billion syphilis infection suit, which is pretty nuts. Read it for yourself. Do some research. So this is where you're getting your stats from, people that give people syphilis. Allegedly.
Yeah,
so before I get on some crazy stuff.
Mistakes happen. I mean, hospitals have to.
Always happen.
There was
Trump,
a disease at the
mistakes,
hospital that's unbelievable. So sitting for 4 to 6 weeks doing nothing is a little bit more than a mistake. It's a little bit more than a whoopsie. It's more like a 4 to 6 week mistake. So, and there's no way. There's just no way
irrelevant.
around
I'm
it.
not talking about. I'm talking about the WHO, like basically, essentially allowing people to die. Which is why the Japanese vice PM has said that they should be renamed the Chinese Health Organization. I'll go back to that one. That's about the mask. This is very interesting. Final thing from me. Ed, can you hear the sound, by the way? Can you guys hear Can you hear the sound?
It's muted still.
What's that? Is
The
it muted?
Twitter video, there's a mute button on there too. I don't know if we can hear it yet.
Oh well, okay. Let's try this.
It doesn't seem like it, but we did play this the other day. She
is
asked,
this the Taiwan one?
Yeah. This is the Taiwan one. She asked him about what the status for Taiwan. He pretends that he can't hear her. Then he hangs up. Then she asks him again, and he won't even really respond to the question. So yes, it was a bad look for the WHO. I agree with that.
It's a bit silly. So it's I don't think it's.
But the
malice,
Taiwan issue, I mean, the other side of it, the Chinese are very serious about Taiwan. They're not messing around about, not talking about it and not acknowledging it and so forth. So you have to assume for the WHO doctor, the representative there, to not even want to talk about it, just to be so kind of afraid to not take any chances. They must need funding. They must have a very, serious connection to the Chinese government. So it is a bad look, and it does help spread the idea of a conspiracy theory that we're not wearing masks because foreign powers don't want us to wear masks. They want the U.S. people to die. That's pretty dark.
No, I don't think it's that. Again, I think it's just, I don't know. I think it's incompetence. I don't know. I can't see any other reason because it's either the problem is it's either malicious or it's incompetence. That's the thing, and both of those are horrifically bad options for the people that are meant to advise the world when you have a pandemic that is killing everyone. Surely, they should be giving the most rigorous, tested, logical advice, and it just seems that's kind of it seems like it's verging on gross negligence at a criminal level.
There's also the idea they might be trying to protect the supply of hospital masks, but they've made a classic mistake there because you should never lie during a pandemic because then the rest of your information will be taken as a lie, and when you really need to tell people something, they won't believe it. And I mean, you don't have to be a scholar of childhood literature to know about the boy who cried wolf. I mean, this is the same theory, and it's amplified during a pandemic like this.
Yeah, and actually, so segueing nicely, is the FBI raiding. So I mean, people are running the numbers here. 5,000 boxes of N95 masks at 700% markup. So I think that people are saying 3,000 a box. I very much doubt that, given the size of the boxes. But even if it's like 100 per box, would seem like a more reasonable amount. That's a lot of masks to be trying to profiteer from. And it's very sad that in this day and age, people are doing that. I mean, especially in your own city, you've got like reports of chaos, and you're like, they got no equipment. There's also reports of stuff being stolen, but I'm just going to buy loads and just keep them all for myself or for a 700% parting gift. So that's a bit crazy. That's my last of my wafflers, and it's just very sad. See, it all flowed though, didn't it? Kind of flowed.
Very good. All right, Dan's news. Everybody, round of applause in the chat. Let's hear it for Dan's news. Doing it. Well, we're past 11 o'clock here. We even started a little early. We got through all the news. We took phone calls. We had one phone call. Not a lot of phone calls, but still a phone call, which is good. Keeps the show going, gives us information about other places. It's pretty fun to keep up with what's going on. But I think we're going to head towards the end of the show. Dan, anything you want to say in closing? It's Thursday. We almost made it through another week. We're into April now. That's a whole nother month.
Check out Bitcoin group show tomorrow. Is that right?
Yep, Bitcoin group. We got to somehow rally and write it today and not make it just all about the coronavirus, even though that's all anything is about anymore. So it'll be Bitcoin group variation themed about the coronavirus. But hopefully there'll be some Bitcoin stories in there. I think the Factum story, that's got some meat on it. I could definitely see us talking about the Factum story later on. We talked a lot about token sales back in the day. We were very critical, but once again, the price of Factum did go up and then go down before they went out of business. So from a business perspective, we probably could have made a lot more money there. But from a reality perspective, we saw it as not good in the beginning, and it turned out to be not good in the end. It was just the middle that you didn't expect. So, but yeah, that and some other stories on the Bitcoin group. Until next time, this has been the Thomas Hunt Show on the World Crypto Network. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. Subscribe down below. Hit the bell for notifications. I've seen we've had a couple of new Twitter followers out there on at Mad Bitcoins. That's where you can follow me. You can follow Dan on at Cryptopoly. And you can follow the World Crypto Network at World Crypto Net. So great ways to get information. Look forward to the next show. Hope to hear from more of you guys on the phone and in the chat as well. So thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye.